Chapter 29. Lu Ming followed the large group out of the Mystic Essence Sword sect and headed towards the secluded Night Mountain range. Thousands of people ran on the road, stirring up clouds of dust. The Mystic Essence Sword sect was a full 200 miles away from the secluded Night Mountain range. Although everyone was a martial artist who had awakened their bloodline and their cultivation was not weak, after running for 200 miles, many of them were still sweating profusely and panting like oxen. Lu Ming was fine. Although he was a little out of breath, he had not reached his limit. When they arrived at the periphery of the secluded Night Mountain range, they found that the people from the White Tiger Hall had already arrived. There were a total of 1,500 people in the White Tiger Hall, nearly 500 more than the Vermilion Bird Hall. In recent years, the White Tiger Hall had become stronger and stronger, becoming the strongest among the 4 halls. Therefore, most people chose to join the White Tiger Hall. "All right, you guys take a rest first," Xia Kuang called out. Everyone sat cross-legged and meditated. Rumble! After a while, the earth rumbled. The Azure Dragon Hall and the Black Tortoise Hall had arrived. Lu Ming observed for a while and found that the Azure Dragon Hall had about 1,300 people, the Black Tortoise Hall had about 1,200 people, and the Vermilion Bird Hall had the least, only about 1,000 people. The 4 halls added up to about 5,000 people. Swoosh! Swoosh! At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the sky. A few figures flew over from afar. Yes, they were flying in the air without riding on other flying beasts. "It's a martial ancestor realm expert!" There was a burst of exclamations as everyone looked at the sky enviously. Only when a martial artist reached the martial ancestor realm could they fly in the air and soar in the 9 heavens. Lu Ming also looked at the sky enviously, revealing a yearning look. Who wouldn't yearn to soar in the 9 heavens like a goshawk, overlooking the mountains and rivers? "One day, I will reach such a realm!" Lu Ming clenched his fist with all his might. There were a total of 3 figures, and they were very fast. In a few breaths, they were above everyone's head and suspended in the air. They were 3 gray-haired old men wearing silver robes. They were the silver-robed elders of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. "Now, I will announce the rules of this trial." As soon as they arrived, the silver-robed elder in the middle announced loudly. "This time, on some of the beasts in the secluded Night Mountain range, we hung an iron plate with points engraved on it, namely 1 point, 2 points, 5 points, and 10 points. These are the 4 types. Among them, there are a total of 5,000 1-point iron plates, which are distributed to Class 1 LV1 to Class 6 LV1. There are a total of 2,000 iron plates, which are on Class 1 7th stage to Class 1 9th stage. There are 400 pieces of 5-point iron plates and 200 pieces of 10-point iron plates. These 2 types of iron plates can only be found on Class 1 to Class 3 LV2 demonic beasts. This time, as long as you get 10 points, you will pass and be promoted to a bronze disciple. The duration of the trial is 20 days. After 20 days, come back here and check your results. Does 10 points count as passing? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. 10 points didn't seem like much, but it was extremely difficult. The strength of demonic beasts was not something that ordinary beasts could compare to. A level 1 demonic beast was equivalent to a martial soldier. A rank 2 demonic beast was equivalent to a martial master. Every level 1 demonic beast was divided into 9 levels, which corresponded to a martial master's realm. The 5-point and 10-point iron plates were on Class 2 demonic beasts. Ordinary newcomers couldn't get their hands on them. Therefore, those below the martial master realm could only get 1-point and 2-point iron plates. According to the silver-robe elder, 5,000 for 1 point, 2,000 for 2 points. Even if all the 5-point and 10-point iron plates were added together, the total score would be 13,000 points. 13,000 points divided by 10. That was to say, on average, only 1,300 people would pass. Out of 5,000 people, only 1,300 people could pass on average. It could be imagined that the competition this time would be extremely fierce. Furthermore, The rewards this time around are also very generous. The silver-robed elder continued to announce. This time, the first place will be rewarded with 5,000 sect contribution points and a spirit-condensing fruit. The second place will be rewarded with 4,000 sect contribution points. The third place will be rewarded with 3,000 sect contribution points. The fourth place to the 10th place will be rewarded with 1,000 sect contribution points. The 11th place to the 100th place will also have a corresponding reward. Lastly, I might as well tell you that this time, there will be a 5-point iron plate. As for which demonic beast it is on, it will depend on you to find it. Alright, that's all for the rules. You can all rest for a while and set off. As soon as he said that, the entire place was in an uproar. The main thing was that the rewards were too tempting. The Mystic Essence Sword Sect's contribution points could be exchanged for anything in the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, such as elixirs, spiritual weapons, cultivation techniques, martial skills, heavenly treasures, etc. One contribution point was equivalent to 100 taels of silver. The first place would be rewarded with 5,000 contribution points, which was equivalent to 500,000 taels of silver. Who wouldn't be tempted? Spirit-condensing fruit. Compared to the contribution points, the spirit-condensing fruit was also tempting to Lu Ming. The spirit-condensing fruit could be used by ordinary martial artists to condense their true qi and increase their cultivation. However, it was more useful for Lu Ming. If he wanted to cultivate to the second level of the true dragon art, his true qi would be 3 times denser than ordinary true qi. He would need to use several extremely precious and rare materials. The spirit-condensing fruit was one of the most precious materials. I must obtain the spirit-condensing fruit. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a burning light. Not only Lu Ming, but some of the powerful geniuses among the 5,000 people also revealed a strong desire. You must be Lu Ming? At this moment, a clear voice sounded out. A 15 or 16-year-old girl wearing a swordsman's robe revealed her proud figure without a doubt. She had a ponytail and a sword on her back. She had a heroic spirit. You are? Looking at the girl, Lu Ming frowned. He did not know the other party, but the other party recognized him. Could it be that she was sent by the Duanmu family? As if seeing through Lu Ming's worries, the girl smiled and said, Lu Ming, my name is Feng Wu. Sister Mullins told me to look for you. Mullins. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He let down his guard and said, Miss Feng Wu is looking for me. I wonder why you are looking for me. Sister Mullins said that this time, the Duanmu family might deal with you in the trial, so she told me to form a team with you. This way, we can take care of each other. How about it, let's move together? Feng Wu said. Lu Ming thought for a moment, then nodded. All right. He had absolute trust in Mullins. Furthermore, he had just arrived at the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, so he was not very clear about the situation in the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. That's great. Our team still has 3 people. Let me introduce you. Feng Wu laughed and turned to walk back. Lu Ming followed. On the side of a huge rock, there were 3 youths leaning against it. Everyone, let me introduce you. This is Lu Ming, our new member. Arriving in front of the 3 of them, Feng Wu pointed at Lu Ming and introduced him. Then, he pointed to the 2 tall and skinny youths and introduced them. Lu Ming, this is Zhou Hao Zhou Su. Zhou Hao and Zhou Su nodded their heads indifferently as a form of greeting. Lu Ming, this is Yuan Chong. Feng Wu pointed to the last rather handsome young man and said, Feng Wu, why did you pull everyone into the team? I don't want someone to drag us down. Chapter 30. Yuan Chang's expression was somewhat unfriendly as he stared at Lu Ming and said coldly. Feng Wu's face darkened, and said, Yuan Chong, what are you saying? Lu Ming is my friend. Friend? We have a lot of friends, and not everyone can be pulled into the team. I want to ask, what is his cultivation level? Yuan Chong said coldly. 6th level martial warrior, Lu Ming said with a sneer on his face. Ha ha ha, 6th level martial warrior? Junior sister Feng Wu, you want to pull a trash at the 6th level of the martial warrior into the team? The weakest of us here are at the 9th level of the martial warrior. He is just a trash at the 6th level of the martial warrior. Yuan Chong laughed out loud and looked at Lu Ming mockingly, his face full of disdain. A faint look of disdain flashed across the eyes of the other two, but they did not say anything. Miss Feng, it seems that I'm not welcome here. Then I'll take my leave. Lu Ming cupped his fist towards Feng Wu and said, then turned around and left. Lu Ming, wait a moment. Feng Wu anxiously called out. He went over and grabbed Lu Ming's hand, then looked at Yuan Chong, his eyes filled with raging anger, and shouted. Yuan Chong, you're going too far, I'm warning you. If you say such words again, then we'll go our separate ways. Feng Wu, you. Yuan Chong's face was extremely gloomy. He never thought that Feng Wu would actually speak to him like that for Lu Ming. He looked at Lu Ming, his eyes flashing with resentment, but in the end, he did not say anything. After that, Feng Wu looked at Lu Ming and whispered, Lu Ming, I promised Big Sister Mulins that I would bring you along. If you leave, I won't be able to explain it to Big Sister Mulins. As he spoke, his eyes revealed a pleading look. Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. It seemed that this Feng Wu beauty was afraid of Mulins, which was why she insisted on keeping him. Why don't we walk with them for a while, get some information, and then find an opportunity to leave? Lu Ming thought for a moment, then nodded and said, All right, let's go together. That's great. Feng Wu's face revealed a happy smile. Seeing Feng Wu and Lu Ming whispering to each other, Yuan Chang's face became even uglier, and his eyes were filled with a cold light. At this time, there were already people rushing into the secluded night mountain range one after another. Generally, they were in teams of 3 to 5 people, but there were also some who were alone and disappeared into the secluded night mountain range. Then let's go, Feng Wu announced. Obviously, Feng Wu was the leader of this group. A group of 5 people rushed towards the secluded night mountain range. In the secluded night mountain range, there were towering trees everywhere within a radius of 1,000 miles. Old vines coiled around it, making it look like a primeval forest. From time to time, the terrifying roars of beasts could be heard. 30 miles outside the secluded night mountain range is generally filled with ferocious beasts. There are very few demonic beasts. If we want to obtain points, we have to go at least 30 miles deep, Feng Wu said to them. Everyone nodded, spread out their bodies, and rushed towards the depths of the secluded night mountain range. Yuan Chong took the lead. His speed was extremely fast. With a sneer on his face, he thought to himself, This trash, let's see how you can keep up. But very soon, he could no longer laugh. Lu Ming took a step forward and covered a distance of 20 feet. He followed beside Zhou Hao and Zhou Su effortlessly, looking relaxed and relaxed. This trash, I didn't expect his movement technique to be so powerful, Yuan Chong thought in displeasure. Among them, he was at the 1st level of the martial master realm, Feng Wu was also at the 1st level of the martial master realm, and Zhou Hao and Zhou Su were both at the 9th level of the martial warrior realm. Although Yuan Chong could still speed up his movement technique, that way, he would be able to shake off Zhou Hao and Zhou Su. But what he didn't know was that Lu Ming didn't even use half of his speed. The dragon snake steps had reached the 5th level, perfection. With a single step, he could cross a distance of 5 feet. The group moved very quickly. After an hour, they had already gone 30 miles deep. At this point, the 5 of them slowed down because there were already demonic beasts roaming around. Roar! A pitch-black black panther suddenly pounced out from the bushes. Its fiendish aura filled the air, and its claws were like blades as it grabbed towards Zhou Hao. You're courting death! Zhou Hao shouted and punched out, colliding with the Black Panther's claws. With a bang, the Black Panther was no match for it. It flew backwards and heavily fell to the ground. After rolling a few times, it got up and ran away. Class 6 Demonic Beast Black Iron Panther, Zhou Hao, don't chase after it. It doesn't have any iron medallion on it, Feng Wu called out. Zhou Hao originally wanted to chase after him, but hearing this, he stopped. Feng Wu continued, Our main goal is to accumulate points, so those who do not have any iron medallions We should avoid them as much as we can, so as not to waste time and energy. The others nodded. The 5 of them continued forward, but not long after they stopped. Fengwu frowned, he looked around and said, "Someone has been following us." "I noticed it too." Yuan Chong nodded. Lu Ming also frowned, because from the beginning, he had been feeling a killing intent enveloping him. "Who is it? Come out!" Fengwu shouted. "Haha, junior sister Feng's spiritual sense is really sharp." A sneer came from the left, and then 2 figures appeared. "Wei Ziming!" Lu Ming's eyes flashed. One of them, Lu Ming knew, it was Wei Ziming who was slapped twice by him a few days ago at the Profound Sword City's restaurant. At this time, Wei Ziming was staring at Lu Ming with a sinister expression. Beside Wei Ziming was a youth who was 50 to 60% similar to Wei Ziming, but even younger. "Wei Zio, it's you? Why are you following us?" Fengwu said coldly. So this person was Wei Ziming's younger brother, Wei Zio. It was normal for some of the more famous geniuses to know each other. Wei Zio laughed and said, "Junior sister Feng, senior brother Yuan Chong, this has nothing to do with you." "I want him, Lu Ming." Fengwu's face changed and said, "Why are you looking for Lu Ming?" "Nothing. A while ago, he slapped my big brother twice, so I'm here to cripple his hands." "Junior sister Feng, it's best if you don't interfere in this matter." Wei Zio looked at Fengwu and said, "But I'm going to interfere, because Lu Ming is now my teammate." Fengwu said, "Fengwu, I advise you not to meddle in other people's business." At this moment, a voice came from the right. Following that, 2 youths appeared. These 2 youths did not conceal their auras at all. Their auras erupted, revealing their cultivation of the 9th level martial warrior. Although it was only the 9th level martial warrior, it caused Fengwu's expression to change greatly. "People from the Duanmu family, what are you doing here?" Fengwu shouted. The Duanmu family had a green tree embroidered on their sleeves, making it easy to recognize. "We're here for this Lu Ming, of course. We want his life." One of the Duanmu family's youths smiled faintly. "You want to kill Lu Ming?" Fengwu's expression turned ugly. Just how many people had this Lu Ming offended? No wonder Mulins wanted her to protect Lu Ming. At the side, Yuan Chang's eyes revealed a gloating expression. This Lu Ming actually dared to offend the Duanmu family. He was truly courting death. "Duanmu family, Wei Zio, you came in such a hurry!" Chapter 31. "Haha, Lu Ming, looks like there's no need for me to do anything." Wei Zio laughed. "No, no one can take Lu Ming away today," Fengwu said resolutely. Fengwu's words stunned everyone. The 2 youths from the Duanmu family turned gloomy and said, "Fengwu, you really want to go against my Duanmu family? My Duanmu family's anger is not something you can withstand." At the side, Yuan Chong also said anxiously, "Junior sister Fengwu, for a mere Lu Ming, offending the Duanmu family and brother Wei is truly unwise. I think we should not meddle in other people's business." "Shut up! Whoever wants to take Lu Ming away today, ask the sword in my hand first." Clang! Fengwu unsheathed his sword and a sharp sword chi burst out, splitting a rock the size of a person into 2 halves. Martial Master Realm, release of true energy. Wei Ziming, Wei Zio, the 2 from the Duanmu family and Yuan Chang's faces all darkened. Especially Yuan Chong, who gritted his teeth. Wei Zio and the 2 from the Duanmu family's eyes flickered. In their eyes, Lu Ming could be easily killed, but Fengwu was difficult to deal with. Although Wei Zio was also at the 1st level of the Martial Master Realm, the 2 youths from the Duanmu family were only at the 9th level of the Martial Warrior Realm. "Fengwu, do you really think you can protect Lu Ming? When my Duanmu family's experts come, let's see how you'll protect him." "Humph!" In the end, the 2 from the Duanmu family chose to retreat. "Heh heh!" Wei Zio also sneered, his figure flashed, and he retreated with Wei Ziming. "Lu Ming, don't worry. The secluded Night Mountain range has a radius of 1,000 miles. As long as we are careful, the people from the Duanmu family won't be able to find us." Fengwu walked to Lu Ming's side and said, Thank you, Lu Ming said with a smile. To be honest, even without Feng Wu, Lu Ming was confident that he could break out of the encirclement. The dragon snake steps allowed him to traverse 5 meters with a single step. He believed that even a first-level martial master expert would not be able to catch up to him. However, under such circumstances, Feng Wu was still firmly standing on his side. Lu Ming was still very grateful. There's no need to be so courteous with me. Let's continue our journey, Feng Wu said. Then, he turned around and glared fiercely at Yuan Chong before striding forward. Following that, Feng Wu took the lead, and after walking for a while, she would turn around to prevent the Duanwu clan and Wei Ziming from following her. By evening, they had walked at least 100 miles in the forest. During this time, they finally encountered a few demonic beasts with iron tokens and successfully obtained a few iron tokens. The iron plate was very thin and light. There were 2 pieces, one of which was engraved with the word 1 and the other with the word 2. 2 for 1, 1 for 2. Soon night fell. They built a bonfire, caught a demonic beast, and roasted it. At night, the secluded night mountain range was even more dangerous. Demonic beasts roamed about and were extremely ferocious. Therefore, they planned to rest at night and continue searching for iron tokens during the day. After eating the barbecue, they extinguished the bonfire and found a secluded place to meditate and rest. The night passed without a word. The next day, they continued to search for demonic beasts with iron tokens. However, the secluded night mountain range had a radius of 1,000 miles. It was unknown how many demonic beasts lived there, but there were only 7,000 iron tokens. In this vast forest, it was not that easy to find. Just like that, 3 days passed. In 3 days, the 5 of them had obtained a total of 6 pieces of 1 point and 3 pieces of 2 points. In total, it was only 12 points, enough for one person to pass. On the 3rd day, when the sky was completely dark, they discovered a shadow wolf. On the neck of this shadow wolf, there was an iron token with the word 10 written on it. Iron token with 10 points, kill! Feng Wu was overjoyed. In a flash, he chased after it. The shadow wolf was a Class 1 LV2 demonic beast. An ordinary Class 1 LV2 demonic beast had an iron token with 5 points, and an iron token with 10 points was usually on Class 2 LV2 demonic beasts. Now that a Class 1 LV2 demonic beast had an iron token with 10 points, it could be said to be extremely rare, so they naturally wouldn't let it go. Let's chase together! Feng Wu called out from the front. Behind him, Zhou Hao and Zhou Su also rushed forward. However, the shadow wolf was extremely fast, and Feng Wu couldn't catch up at all. In a few breaths, Feng Wu and the shadow wolf's figures disappeared. Lu Ming used his movement technique and wanted to chase after them, but a figure flashed and blocked in front of him. It was Yuan Chong. Lu Ming frowned and said, Yuan Chong, you want to attack me? He, Lu Ming, you trash. That stupid woman Feng Wu actually protects you like this. She's really stupid, but I, Yuan Chong, don't want to be implicated by you. Yuan Chong pointed his sword at Lu Ming, and a powerful aura enveloped Lu Ming's body. Yuan Chong, you're 17 years old this year, right? Lu Ming suddenly asked. That's right. So what? Yuan Chong said. 17 years old, and you're still only a Class 1 martial master. I think you're even worse than trash. In 2 months, I can defeat you, Lu Ming said. Ridiculous. Lu Ming, you want to defeat me in 2 months with a Class 6 martial warrior trash like you? Ridiculous, but unfortunately you won't have the chance. Yuan Chong revealed a cold smile. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the side of the forest, and 2 figures appeared. It was actually the 2 youths from the Duanwu family. Yuan Chong, you're quite sensible. Thank you for your cooperation this time. You can leave now. One of the youths from the Duanwu family said. Haha, Lu Ming, this is your fate. Accept it obediently. Yuan Chong laughed loudly. His figure flashed, and he headed in the direction where Feng Wu and the others were chasing after the shadow wolf. Lu Ming, are you going to kill yourself, or do you want us to do it? After Yuan Chong left, the two youths from the Duanmu family looked at Lu Ming. One of them said indifferently, as if Lu Ming was already a turtle in a jar. With just the two of you. Your Duanmu family is underestimating me, Lu Ming. Lu Ming sighed. Suddenly, he stomped heavily on the ground, twisted his body, and rushed toward the two youths from the Duanmu family like lightning. Swoosh! In the process of rushing out, sword light flashed and slashed at the vital point of one of the youths. Strike first and gain the upper hand. Since they had already become mortal enemies, Lu Ming would not be wishy-washy. The two youths from the Duanmu family were shocked. They never thought that Lu Ming would be so bold. He was only a Class 6 martial warrior. Facing two Class 9 martial warriors, he actually dared to take the initiative. Moreover, his attack was fast, accurate, and incomparably sharp. Retreat. In a hurry, the two of them hurriedly retreated. Poochie. Even so, one of the youth's chest was still swept by Lu Ming's sword. The wound went straight to the bone and blood flowed out. What a pity. I was so close to being able to cut his heart. A Class 9 martial warrior is indeed powerful. Lu Ming sighed in his heart, thinking that it was a pity. With Lu Ming's current combat strength, killing a Class 8 martial warrior wasn't a problem. However, facing a Class 9 martial warrior, it wasn't a problem for him to fight. However, it was very difficult to kill them. Lu Ming, you dare to hurt me? I will tear you into pieces. The young man who was injured by Lu Ming broke out in a cold sweat. He had a lingering fear and screamed hysterically. Together with the other person, he dashed toward Lu Ming. Then let's fight. Chapter 32. In an instant, the three of them collided. Ding ding! The three sword lights continued to clash in the air, emitting dense sounds and sparks. The two youths from the Duanmu family were cultivating inferior-grade yellow-level swordplay. They had already reached the third level of mastery and were far from Lu Ming's swordplay. However, their cultivation was 3 levels higher than Lu Ming's. When the two of them joined forces, Lu Ming was slightly at a disadvantage. Kill the injured one first! Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he continuously attacked the injured youth with the flowing light sword technique. How can he be so strong? He's only a 6th-stage martial warrior. How can he be so strong? No, we can't let him live. We must kill him! The two youths from the Duanmu family were shocked. Lu Ming's combat strength was beyond their imagination. Roar! Roar! 2 beastly roars were heard. The two youths from the Duanmu family emitted a blood-red light from their backs. Then 2 black panthers appeared. There were 3 red chakras on the 2 black panthers. Obviously, both of them had rank 3 bloodline. Then, the 2 black panthers rushed into the two youths' bodies. Suddenly, their bodies emitted a layer of black light and their auras surged. This was bloodline eruption. With the activation of their bloodline, their speed was raised by 30%. Bloodlines were biased. Some bloodlines were biased towards defense, some towards attack, and some towards speed. When a bloodline eruption occurred, the attribute it was biased towards would be increased. Generally speaking, a first-level bloodline eruption could increase one's attributes by 10%. A second-level bloodline eruption could increase one's attributes by 20%. A 9th-level bloodline eruption could increase one's attributes by 90%, which was almost double. The two youths' bloodlines were biased towards speed. Therefore, when they erupted, their speed increased by 30%. No matter which attribute increased, it meant an increase in combat strength. Of course, some high-grade bloodlines might be very powerful in several attributes. Then, they could increase several attributes at the same time. When several attributes increased at the same time, the increase in combat strength would be even more terrifying. After the bloodline eruption, the two youths' combat strength increased by a level and began to suppress Lu Ming. It's a pity that my bloodline hasn't grown yet. I can't erupt with power. This is my weakness. Lu Ming pondered and did his best to fight the two of them. Swoosh! Right at this moment, the sound of something tearing through the air rang out again. Another person had arrived. "Ha! Lu Ming, die!" It was Wei Ziming and Wei Ziyu. Whoosh! Before Wei Ziyu arrived, he slashed out with his sword, and a green sword chi burst forth. The sword chi left his body and was incomparably sharp. It directly slashed at Lu Ming's vital points. Danger! In an instant, Lu Ming felt goosebumps all over his body as a strong sense of danger enveloped him. The sword chi of a martial master was not something he could withstand right now. However, when he wanted to dodge, he was blocked by two young men from the Duanmu family. Whoosh! At this moment, in another direction, there was a sharp sound of air being torn apart. Another beam of sword chi slashed towards Lu Ming. There was actually another martial master who wanted to kill Lu Ming. Two martial masters joined forces and two young men in the martial warrior 9th rank to stop Lu Ming. This was a sure kill. Lu Ming was instantly in a desperate situation. Enter the Temple of Paragon. Since he couldn't withstand it, he could only enter the Temple of Paragon to hide. Although this might expose the Temple of Paragon, it was better than being killed. However, Lu Ming's expression immediately changed. He realized that he couldn't enter the Temple of Paragon. The Temple of Paragon didn't respond. Can I enter the Temple of Paragon in the middle of a battle? Am I going to die here? No, I can't die. Lu Ming shouted in his heart. At this moment, he was extremely focused and his blood was boiling. He wanted to find a way out of this hopeless situation. Suddenly, a strong itch came from Lu Ming's spine. A beam of red light shot out from his spine. At the same time, a strange energy flowed from his spine into Lu Ming's body. This is the power of the bloodline. My bloodline has finally fully grown. Bloodline eruption. Without much time to think, Lu Ming's bloodline erupted and a layer of black light spread out from his body. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, two beams of sword chi slashed Lu Ming's body. The moment the sword chi slashed, two sharp beams of energy rushed into Lu Ming's body. A sharp pain came and Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood. The power of the sword chi seems to have been reduced by half. In an instant, Lu Ming felt that the power of the sword chi had been reduced by half. If it had been at full power, Lu Ming definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand it. Is it because of my bloodline? A thought flashed through his mind. However, there was no time to think. Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed towards the injured Duanmu clan youth like the wind. How could the Duanmu clan youth have expected that Lu Ming would still be alive after being hit by the sword chi of two martial masters? It was already too late for him to defend himself. Pu chi! The sword chi flashed and slashed the youth's throat. Blood splattered everywhere. Lu Ming's figure flashed past and then he used the dragon snake steps and ran forward. Lu Ming, you dare kill a disciple of my Duanmu clan. You deserve to die. A furious roar sounded out. Lu Ming took a quick glance and saw the person who roared. This person was the other martial master who had attacked. There was a green wood embroidered on his sleeve. He was obviously a disciple of the Duanmu clan. Duanmu clan, I, Lu Ming, swear that sooner or later, I will uproot you. The killing intent in Lu Ming's heart was extremely strong. He forcefully suppressed the injuries in his body and ran forward. Chase! Behind him, Wei Ziyu and the martial master from the Duanmu clan quickly chased after Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's dragon snake steps had already reached the 5th level. He could traverse 15 meters with each step, which was faster than a rank 1 martial master. Wei Ziyu and the martial master could not catch up with Lu Ming. Half an hour later, Lu Ming had completely left the two of them in the dust. Then, Lu Ming found a cave and rushed in. Huff huff. Lu Ming sat in the cave, panting heavily. He could feel waves of pain in his body. Although he had blocked the sword chi of the two martial masters, he was still injured. Let's see if I can enter the Temple of Paragon. With a thought, Lu Ming disappeared and reappeared in the Temple of Paragon. Can I enter the Temple of Paragon when I'm in a battle or in danger? Why is that? Lu Ming was puzzled and speechless. It seemed that it would be impossible to rely on the Temple of Paragon to avoid danger in the future. He had to rely on himself. Let's heal first. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and circulated the true dragon fighting art to heal his injuries. 3 days later, Lu Ming's injuries were completely healed. Buzz! Lu Ming's consciousness sank into his spine. A blood-red light shone and a finger-sized black worm appeared in the light. The worm was black and shiny, as if it was made of black jade. It had no hands or legs. Is this my bloodline? But why doesn't it have a single chakra? Chapter 33. Bloodlines were divided into 9 levels, and each level had a corresponding chakra. Level 1 bloodline, 1 blood chakra. Level 2 bloodline, 2 blood chakras. And so on. However, Lu Ming's bloodline did not have a single chakra. Could it be a level 0 bloodline? But he had never heard of a level 0 bloodline. Moreover, Lu Ming had tested it before. The speed at which his bloodline absorbed the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was comparable to a level 4 bloodline. Also, when I activated my bloodline power, it blocked 50% of the sword qi. Is that a special effect of my bloodline? Lu Ming pondered, and there was excitement in his eyes. If it could really block 50% of the enemy's attack, it would be a terrifying ability. Lu Ming could not wait to give it a try. Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon and searched for demonic beasts in the forest. Soon, he found a demonic beast. It was a Class 7 LV-1 demonic beast. It could spit out fireballs to attack. Roar! When the flame wolf found Lu Ming, it roared and opened its mouth. A fireball condensed and shot toward Lu Ming. Let's try the power of bloodline power! With a thought, a force flowed from his spine into his body. Lu Ming's body shone with a layer of black light. The black light exuded a strong devouring power. Lu Ming did not dodge and allowed the fireball to hit him. In an instant, Lu Ming could clearly feel that the power of the fireball was being devoured by the black light on his body. In the end, only half of its power was left. Lu Ming took a step back, avoiding the fireball that had half of its power left. It turns out that the external attack was not blocked, but devoured. Half of the attack power was devoured. There was shock in Lu Ming's eyes. At this moment, the bloodline power in Lu Ming's body disappeared without a trace. It can't be. How did it disappear so quickly? It only took a breath? Lu Ming was speechless. At this moment, the flame wolf spat out another fireball. But when Lu Ming wanted to activate his bloodline power again, he found that it could not. Lu Ming knew that it was because the bloodline power had been exhausted and needed time to recover. But wasn't this a little too short? Lu Ming knew that generally, martial artists in the martial soldier realm would have a bloodline outburst for about a minute. After a minute or so, the bloodline power would be exhausted and they would have to wait for recovery. As for the martial master realm, the power of one's bloodline would become stronger, and one would be able to unleash it for about 2 minutes. In the future, as one's cultivation increased, the duration of one's bloodline would also increase. But now, Lu Ming's bloodline power eruption could only lasted for a second. Normally, one breath was 2 seconds, which was 30 times more than other people's time. It seemed that the ability to block 50% of the attack was powerful and miraculous, but it could only be used at critical moments. Also, what was the highest level could be? There was a limit to everything. Lu Ming did not believe that the bloodline of an expert who was much more powerful than him could withstand it. Lu Ming had to find out for himself. In any case, Lu Ming was very satisfied. This ability could definitely be used as a trump card at a critical moment. Bang! He used the dragon snake steps to avoid the flame wolf's attack and then attacked the flame wolf. Poochie! The sword pierced through the flame wolf's heart. The flame wolf struggled a few times before it stopped breathing. I wonder how long it will take for the bloodline power to fully recover? Lu Ming thought, and the black bug bloodline power condensed. Lu Ming wanted to continue observing. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The black bug bloodline power suddenly opened its mouth at the flame wolf's corpse and a powerful suction force was produced. Then, 9 drops of bright red blood essence flew out from the flame wolf's wound and were swallowed by the black bug bloodline power. In the next moment, a powerful energy gushed out from Lu Ming's spine. This energy fused with Lu Ming's true qi, causing Lu Ming's cultivation to soar from the early stage of the 6th level of the martial warrior to the peak of the early stage of the 6th level of the martial warrior. Buzz! Then, a pale red chakra appeared on the black bug bloodline power's body. In Lu Ming's eyes, it was so dazzling. Lu Ming was stunned. It took him a long time to react. My bloodline can actually devour the blood essence of a monster and transform it into true qi? And my bloodline can actually level up? Lu Ming muttered to himself. His eyes were getting brighter and brighter, and his heart was ecstatic. It was already heaven-defying to be able to devour blood essence and transform it into true qi. But to be able to level up was simply unheard of. As everyone knew, the level of bloodline was fixed. Unless there were special circumstances, it was generally impossible to level up. But his bloodline could actually level up, which was simply beyond common sense. Just now, Lu Ming could clearly feel that the blood essence he devoured from the firewolf was divided into 2. Half was transformed into true qi, and the other half was absorbed by the bloodline itself. This was why both his true qi and bloodline were upgraded. In the future, as long as he continued to devour the blood essence of monsters, wouldn't his bloodline level continue to improve? It was not impossible to level up to the 5th level, 6th level, 8th level, 9th level, or even beyond the 9th level. Lu Yao's 5th level bloodline was nothing. Ha! Lu Ming laughed heartily. Let's go find monsters! Lu Ming could not wait to look for demonic beasts and experiment with them. Not long after, Lu Ming discovered another level 8 level 1 demonic beast. This demonic beast actually had a 2-point iron plate on it. Lu Ming killed it and put away the iron plate. Then, he activated his bloodline and sucked out 9 drops of blood essence from the monster. Blood essence was the blood essence of living creatures and contained a huge amount of energy. Legend has it that whether it was a monster or a human, there were only 9 drops of blood essence in their body. After the 9 drops of blood essence were devoured by the black worm bloodline, they were also divided into 2, and part of them was transformed into Lu Ming's true qi. Suddenly, Lu Ming's cultivation broke through and reached the middle of the 6th level martial warrior. The blood-red chakra on the bloodline, although it did not level up, its color became more vivid. The blood essence of a Class 8 LV1 monster was indeed more effective than that of a Class 7 LV1 monster. Let's call it the spirit-devouring bug from now on. Duanmu family, you wait for me, continue. Lu Ming named the black worm bloodline spirit-devouring bug. After that, Lu Ming hunted monsters in the secluded Night Mountain range and devoured their blood essence. Lu Ming's cultivation increased crazily. More than a day later, Lu Ming's cultivation had risen to the 7th level martial warrior. 3 days later, Lu Ming's cultivation broke through again, reaching the peak of the 8th level martial warrior. At this time, his bloodline really did level up again. The 2nd chakra was born, and it was promoted to the 2nd level bloodline. After 3 days of continuous hunting of demonic beasts, Lu Ming finally figured out a part of the mysteries of his bloodline. First of all, there was a limit to the devouring of 50% of the attack power when his bloodline erupted. He found that it would only work on monsters that were 5 levels higher than him. It would be useless if it was more than 5 levels higher. For example, Lu Ming was a Class 1 martial warrior. It would only work on monsters below the 6th level martial warrior. Once he encountered a monster above the 7th level martial warrior, it would have no effect at all. The time of the bloodline eruption was a breath at first. After the eruption, it would take 3 hours before the eruption could continue. But with the promotion of the bloodline, these changes occurred. Every time the bloodline was promoted, the time of the bloodline eruption would increase by 1 breath. When Lu Ming was promoted to the 2nd level bloodline, the time of his bloodline eruption had increased to 3 breaths. Correspondingly, the time to restore the power of his bloodline had also decreased. Chapter 34. Lu Ming was walking through the forest when his expression suddenly changed and he muttered, "They're really haunting me. However, they've come at the right time." Swish! Swish! At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. In the next moment, figures appeared in front of Lu Ming, behind him, and to his left. In front of him was Wei Ziyou and Wei Ziming. Behind him were 4 people from the Duanmu family. Other than the young martial master, there were 3 other youths. On the left was a young man in embroidered clothes. His aura was extremely powerful, and he was also a martial master. When the 3 groups of people saw Lu Ming, they spread out in a circle and surrounded Lu Ming. 3 of them were martial masters of the 1st layer and 3 were martial warriors of the 9th layer. As for Wei Ziming, he could be ignored. "Lu Ming, let's see where you can run to this time." Wei Ziming stared viciously at Lu Ming and said. Lu Ming smiled and casually glanced at Wei Ziming and said, "You trash, if you have the ability, come and fight me yourself." "Lu Ming, you're going to be a dead man soon." "I won't bother with a dead man," Wei Ziming said viciously. "Lu Ming, you actually dared to kill a disciple of my Duanmu family. You deserve to die 10,000 times." The young martial master from the Duanmu family coldly shouted. "I deserve to die 10,000 times? Your Duanmu family wanted to kill me first. According to what you're saying, I can only be killed and can't fight back?" Lu Ming said. "That's right. If my Duanmu family wants to kill you, you can only stand there and wait for death. How can your cheap life be compared to the lives of my Duanmu family disciples?" The young man from the Duanmu family coldly shouted. He was overbearing, confident, and unreasonable. "Ha!" Lu Ming chuckled. He didn't want to say anything to such a person. Soon after, he shifted his gaze to the young man in embroidered clothes and said, "What about you? I don't think I know you. Are you also from the Duanmu family?" "Ha ha, Lu Ming, since you're going to die, I'll let you know why. Senior brother Ning Feng asked me to come. You're really bold. You've just entered the sect and you dare to offend senior brother Ning Feng. Are you tired of living?" The young man in embroidered clothes faintly. "All right, don't talk nonsense with him. Let's kill him." "I don't have time to talk nonsense," the young man from the Duanmu family, Duanmu Fei, said coldly. As soon as he finished his words, his figure pounced toward Lu Ming like a gust of wind. Green sword aura cut through the air, emitting a sharp whistling sound. Wei Ziyou and the youth in embroidered clothes did not make a move. In their opinion, it was enough to kill Lu Ming. Just as Duanmu Fei's sword aura was about to slash Lu Ming stomped heavily on the ground and unleashed the dragon snake steps. He dodged the sword aura and his figure darted out at lightning speed. His target was a 9th layer martial warrior from the Duanmu clan. Clang! His sword rang and a sword light flashed. With his current cultivation of martial realm, even if the young martial master was on full alert, he could not avoid Lu Ming's sword light. Puchi! The long sword pierced the young martial master's heart. "One hit, 1 kill. Devour!" With a thought, Lu Ming's palm erupted with a powerful suction force. 9 drops of blood essence were sucked out of the young martial master's wound. They flowed along Lu Ming's arm and were devoured by the spirit-devouring bug. In the past few days, Lu Ming had figured out a way to use the spirit-devouring bug's bloodline. He could use the devouring power on his hands to silently devour the blood essence of others. "Ah, Lu Ming, you're courting death!" Duanmu Fei roared furiously. His figure flashed, and he charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's mouth revealed a cold smile. He did not want to meet Duanmu Fei head-on. Using the dragon snake steps, he charged at another young martial warrior. At the same time, the spirit-devouring bug's bloodline continued to refine the blood essence, and a stream of energy poured into Lu Ming's body. The energy contained in the blood essence of a martial warrior was huge, which allowed Lu Ming's cultivation to quickly improve. His cultivation, which was already at the peak of martial realm, was constantly approaching the 9th level. Swish! Sword light flashed. Although the young martial master tried his best to retreat, his speed was no match for Lu Ming's. He was killed in an instant. At the same time, the blood essence was also absorbed by Lu Ming. Crash! True Qi surged. The blood essence of two 9th-level martial warriors finally allowed Lu Ming to break through the shackles. His cultivation reached the 9th-level martial warrior in one fell swoop. Damn it, what are you two waiting for? Let's attack together and kill Lu Ming! Duan Mufei roared. In the past few days, 3 9th-level martial warrior youths of the Duanmu family had died in the hands of Lu Ming. Even in the Duanmu family, a 9th-level martial warrior under the age of 18 could be regarded as an elite. Now that 3 of them had died at once, he didn't know how to explain it to the elders of the Duanmu family. Therefore, he hated Lu Ming to the extreme. Kill! Kill! Wei Ziyo and the young man in brocade roared and also rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming killed 2 9th-level martial warriors in an instant. His strength was beyond their expectations. At this time, they didn't care about their face and directly joined forces. Duan Mufei and Wei Ziyo slashed out a sword chi, while the young man in brocade robe slashed out a golden palm force. The 3 joined forces and with a harsh whistling sound, they rushed towards Lu Ming. Haha, come on, let me see how strong the martial master realm is. Lu Ming laughed. His cultivation had broken through to the 9th-level martial warrior, which greatly increased his confidence. Pung! With a twist of his body, Lu Ming rushed towards Duan Mufei, ignoring the attacks of Wei Ziyo and the young man in brocade robe. Die! Wei Ziyo and Duan Mufei's eyes revealed a sinister killing intent. Bloodline eruption! At this time, Lu Ming's bloodline erupted and a layer of black light flashed. At this time, the attacks of Wei Ziyo and the other 2 landed on Lu Ming's body. The scene of Lu Ming being killed didn't happen as expected. Lu Ming's body only swayed, but the long sword in his hand didn't stop. Like a cold bolt of lightning, it burst forth and pierced towards Duan Mufei's heart. Duan Mufei never dreamed that Lu Ming would not only survive the joint attack of the 3, but also counterattack. It was too late for him to dodge. With a poochie sound, his chest was pierced by Lu Ming. He felt his vision darken and fell heavily to the ground. Duan Mufei, dead. 2 breaths left. Lu Ming's mind whirled as he slashed his long sword towards the young man in brocade robe. Ah! Die! Seeing Duan Mufei being killed, the young man in brocade robe was scared out of his wits. At this time, he sent out 2 palm strikes. However, Lu Ming didn't care, allowing the palm strikes to land on his body. The long sword in his hand didn't stop as it slashed through the young man's throat. Blood splattered everywhere as the young man's throat was slashed. He desperately clutched his throat with both hands, his eyes wide open, filled with unwillingness, pleading, and hatred. Retreat! Quickly retreat! On the other side, Wei Ziyo screamed in horror. Lu Ming killing 2 martial masters in a row had already scared him out of his wits. He frantically fled. Don't you think it's too late to leave now? Chapter 35. Lu Ming used the dragon snake steps, covering 50 feet in a single step. Wei Ziyo could not escape at all. In just 10 breaths, Lu Ming caught up to Wei Ziyo. I'll fight you to the death! Wei Ziyo roared, activating his bloodline as he turned around to attack Lu Ming. He knew that no matter if he begged for mercy or threatened, it would be useless. From Lu Ming's previous attack, it could be seen that he was ruthless, decisive, and determined. Even the genius disciples of the Duanmu family were killed without hesitation. He was simply lawless. Therefore, he was not afraid of the Wei family at all. Clang! Clang! Their swords collided as the 2 engaged in a fierce battle. At this point, Lu Ming's bloodline activation had long passed. However, Lu Ming relied on the true dragon battle art and the 4th level of the flowing light sword art to completely suppress Wei Ziyo. Wei Ziyo's sword art was only at the 4th level of a low-grade yellow rank sword art. Their swords clashed as they exchanged more than 10 moves. Lu Ming's sword art became faster and faster. Finally, Lu Ming's sword pierced Wei Ziyo's heart. In a head-on battle, Wei Zio was defeated. Defeat meant death. Following which, Lu Ming looked in a direction and sneered as he chased after Wei Zio. At this point, Wei Ziming was running for his life, wishing that he had 2 more legs. How can he be so strong? How can he be so strong? Even a martial master was killed by him. Second brother is most likely no match for him. I must run out and ask father to send experts to kill this Lu Ming. As Wei Ziming ran, he let out a low growl. You're still thinking of killing me at this point. Suddenly, a voice sounded in Wei Ziming's ears. Ah! Wei Ziming screamed in fright. Turning his head, he saw Lu Ming looking at him with a cold smile. A wave of cold air rushed from Wei Ziming's tailbone to the top of his head. Lu Ming, spare my life. I beg you to spare me. Wei Ziming did not dare to run anymore. He immediately stopped and knelt down with a plop, begging loudly. This made Lu Ming slightly stunned. This Wei Ziming was actually a spineless person, completely different from Wei Zio. I've already killed Wei Ziyu, do you think I'll let you go? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming, no, brother Ming, don't worry, I won't tell anyone about what happened today. Moreover, you killed Wei Zio. You killed him well. His talent is higher than mine, and he has always been suppressing me. I have long wanted him dead. Once he dies, there will be no one to compete with me for the position of Flame City Lord. Wei Ziming cried out with tears and snot running down his face. However, he was roaring in his heart. As long as he didn't die today, he would definitely make Lu Ming pay 10 times, 100 times more. If I don't kill you, should I wait for your revenge? Do you think I'm that stupid? Lu Ming smiled faintly. No, Wei Ziming cried out. He wanted to get up and run away, but a sword light flashed, and Wei Ziming's head flew far away. Unfortunately, one of them still escaped, Lu Ming whispered. There was only one young man left in the Duanwu family who was at Martial Warrior LV9. He was at Martial Warrior LV9 and was running with all his strength. Now that so much time had passed, it was impossible to catch up. Puff! Suddenly, Lu Ming's body shook and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The attack of a martial mentor is really sharp, Lu Ming sighed. Just now, he had activated his bloodline and forcefully withstood the attacks of Duanwu Fei and the other 2. Although 50% of the attack power had been reduced, and he had relied on the protective chi of a 9th-layer martial warrior to resist part of the attack, he was still injured. However, this injury was worth it in exchange for the lives of 3 martial mentor experts. In terms of combat strength, even if Lu Ming had the bloodline of the spirit-devouring bug, he might not be a match for the 3 of them. Just now, Lu Ming had used the special characteristics of the spirit-devouring bug bloodline to catch them off guard and kill them in one fell swoop. Duanwu Fei and the young man in embroidered clothes did not even use their bloodline. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Lu Ming returned to the battlefield and devoured all the essence blood of Wei Zio, Duanwu Fei, and the young man in embroidered clothes. Then he left and found a secluded place to refine the essence blood. The essence blood of 3 martial mentor experts was enormous. Even if only half of the energy was converted into genuine qi, Lu Ming's cultivation soared. At the same time, his injuries were also recovering rapidly. After refining all the essence blood of the 3 martial masters, a light red chakra appeared on the 2 scarlet chakras of the spirit-swallowing bug bloodline. 3rd level bloodline. Lu Ming's bloodline had been upgraded to the 3rd level. At the same time, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level of the martial warrior realm. He was only a little bit away from breaking through to the martial mentor realm. But it was this little bit that blocked Lu Ming's path. Lu Ming frowned. I've improved too fast recently. My genuine qi is not pure enough and my foundation is not stable. No wonder I can't break through. The more essence blood he devoured, the more drawbacks appeared. After all, he did not cultivate step by step. His foundation was not stable and his genuine qi was impure. Otherwise, with the essence blood of 3 martial mentor experts, he could break through to the martial mentor realm. I'm going to stop devouring essence blood and take some time to consolidate my cultivation. Lu Ming believed that as long as he consolidated his genuine qi for a period of time, he would be able to break through to the martial mentor realm. Next, Lu Ming moved to another place. Instead of continuing to hunt demonic beasts, he focused on cultivating the true dragon skill and various martial techniques. This cultivation lasted for 9 days. After 9 days of continuous bitter cultivation, Lu Ming's genuine qi was no longer impure. It was once again refined and pure, and his foundation was stable. When the conditions were right, Lu Ming's cultivation level broke through and he reached the martial master realm. Whoosh! Lu Ming slashed out with his sword. A black sword qi burst out and cut a tree as thick as a person's waist in half. In the martial mentor realm, one could release genuine qi and form sword qi, saber qi, fist aura, etc. It was very powerful. My genuine qi is several times stronger. If I were to fight with Wei Ziyou or Duan Mufei, who are in the first layer of the martial mentor realm, I would be able to kill them in one move. Lu Ming's eyes were incomparably bright. Let's try the dragon snake steps. During this period of time, his other martial techniques did not improve. However, the dragon snake steps broke through again and reached the 6th level of the martial technique, man and martial arts as one. This was the highest level of a martial technique. Bang! His genuine qi burst out and his muscles trembled. Lu Ming's figure rushed out like the wind. The fallen leaves on the mountain were swept up by his body and fluttered wildly. His figure was already 70 feet away. That's right, 70 feet. Originally, when one cultivated to man and martial arts as one step was 60 feet. However, because his cultivation had broken through to the martial mentor realm, one step was 70 feet. The higher one's cultivation, the more powerful the same martial technique would be. There are still 4 days until the end of the examination. I have to put in all my effort to find the iron plate. Chapter 36. A while ago, Lu Ming had hunted at least dozens of level 1 6th level demon beasts and above, and some of them had iron medallions on them. Now, Lu Ming had 5 iron medallions with 2 points and 3 iron medallions with 1 point, which added up to 13 points. Also, from Wei Ziyou and the others, he had also obtained some iron medallions with 12 points. A total of 25 points. This score was enough to be promoted to a bronze disciple. However, Lu Ming felt that it was far from enough. He had a wild wish in his heart, which was to be first place. First place would be rewarded with spirit condensation fruit. Although his current score was definitely far from enough, he would do his best. Lu Ming used the dragon snake steps and ran through the forest. He directly skipped over ordinary demon beasts and searched for demon beasts with iron medallions. A day passed. When night fell, Lu Ming found another piece of 1 point, one piece of 2 points. Adding them all up, Lu Ming had a total of 28 points. Clang! At this moment, the sound of weapons clashing came from the front. There's someone over there. Lu Ming's expression changed. At the source of the sound, through the dense branches, he could vaguely see flames jumping about. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming's figure moved, and he headed towards the bonfire. At this moment, there were indeed 4 people at the bonfire. These 4 people were actually Feng Wu, Yuan Chong, Zhou Su and Zhou Hao. At this moment, the situation was very unexpected. Zhou Hao and Zhou Su's faces were pale as they lay on the ground weakly. Feng Wu held onto his sword, but his body was also trembling non-stop. His face was also pale, and his eyes were filled with anger. He glared at Yuan Chong and shouted, Yuan Chong, you actually drugged the barbecue, why? Yuan Chong held onto his sword, his face sinister, and sneered. Why? Feng Wu, you bitch, I, Yuan Chong, have chased after you for 2 years, but why didn't you agree? A while ago, you actually scolded me for that bastard Lu Ming. I've had enough. Now that you've been poisoned by my fragrant tendon-weakening powder, let's see how you resist? Today, I want you to become my woman, ha ha! Feng Wu's face became extremely ugly, and she shouted, Yuan Chong, you dare? When the trial is over, big sister Mulins won't let you off. Mulins, heh. That slut will sooner or later become the plaything of the Duanmu clan. Also, do you think that you'll be able to return alive? Yuan Chong sneered. You want to kill us? Feng Wu's expression changed. At this moment, she was staggering and couldn't even stand properly. Hee, Feng Wu, after I take care of you, I will personally deal with you. This way, you will belong to me alone. Yuan Chong smiled. You pervert! Feng Wu's face was incomparably pale, his body trembled, and he fell limply to the ground. Brother Yuan, don't kill me! Feng Wu, feel free to play. I guarantee that I won't say a single word about what happened today. Zhou Hao shouted. Me too, Brother Yuan. If I reveal a single word, I'll die a horrible death. Zhou Su also shouted. Unfortunately, I only believe that the dead will not leak the news. Yuan Chong revealed a sinister smile and walked towards Zhou Hao and Zhou Su. No, spare me! The two of them cried out in fear. CI! With a flash of sword light, Yuan Chang's sword she cut off their throats. Now only the two of us are left. Yuan Chong turned and walked towards Feng Wu. You! Don't! Feng Wu was so scared that her face turned pale. She wanted to move back, but after being hit by the fragrant soft tendon powder, the truth she had dissipated, and her entire body was powerless. Seeing Feng Wu in such a state, Yuan Chong felt extremely refreshed. He walked to Feng Wu's side and extended his hand to grab him. Slash! A large piece of the clothes on Feng Wu's chest was torn apart, revealing a large area of snow-white skin. It was like jade, with a sparkling luster. There was even more than half of his chest that was exposed, emitting an astonishing enticement. Yuan Chang's eyes immediately turned red, flickering with the scorching light as he stared fixedly at Feng Wu's chest. Bastard, I want you to die a horrible death! Feng Wu let out a cry of despair. At this time, Feng Wu was truly in despair. She had originally thought that Yuan Chong was a friend, but she never thought that Yuan Chong would actually be such a beast. She was going to die here in her prime, and before she died, she was going to be defiled. At this moment, she really wanted to die. This place is rather remote. Do you think anyone will come to save you? Yuan Chong sneered, and was about to pounce towards Feng Wu. Sorry to disturb you. At this moment, a voice sounded out. The moment this voice came out, Yuan Chang's expression changed drastically as he anxiously turned around. Feng Wu was ecstatic, revealing a look of hope. The two of them looked towards the source of the voice. Lu Ming! It's you! The two of them exclaimed at the same time. Lu Ming crossed his arms and walked over step by step. With a faint smile on his face, he looked at Yuan Chong and said, What is it? Are you disappointed to see that I didn't die? Indeed, I am a little disappointed. You were actually able to escape from the hands of the Duanmu clan and Wei Ziyo, but you are too stupid. Since you've escaped, you should find a corner and hide like a dog. Wait for the trial to end, and now you're here? What? You want to be a hero saving a beauty with just trash like you? Ha! Yuan Chong laughed out loud, his eyes flashing with ridicule and killing intent. Lu Ming, why are you here? Hurry up and leave, you're not a match for Yuan Chong. Feng Wu originally thought that there was hope when he saw that someone had come, but when he saw that it was Lu Ming, he turned into disappointment and despair and shouted loudly. Senior Sister Feng Wu, I am a person who clearly distinguishes between gratitude and grudges. You helped me block Wei Ziyo once before, so now, of course I have to save you once. Lu Ming laughed. Save? Lu Ming, you piece of trash, what are you going to use to save me? Yuan Chong laughed. Of course it's my fist. Lu Ming's face turned cold as he threw a punch at Yuan Chong. You're courting death. Yuan Chong struck out with his palm towards Lu Ming. He wanted to cripple Lu Ming and make Feng Wu feel even more despair. That way, he would be even more carefree. However, when his palm clashed with Lu Ming's fist, his expression changed. He felt an incomparably powerful and condensed innate qi surging from Lu Ming's fist. His innate qi was directly dispersed by Lu Ming's innate qi. A heart-wrenching pain surged from his arm. Yuan Chong cried out loudly and retreated 7 or 8 steps. Martial Master? Impossible? Lu Ming, why is your cultivation at the Martial Master realm? Yuan Chong cried out in disbelief. Martial Master? Seeing this scene, Feng Wu's eyes lit up. He was already in despair, but now, he revealed a glimmer of hope. Yuan Chong, last time I said that I could defeat you in 2 months. Now it seems that I don't need it. Half a month is enough. Lu Ming laughed coldly. You want to defeat me? Don't even think about it. Go to hell. Yuan Chong roared, his eyes flashing with killing intent. He raised his sword and charged towards Lu Ming. Chapter 37. Whoosh. However, Lu Ming only casually swept out with his sword. The sword light flashed like lightning. Puff! This sword swept past Yuan Chang's wrist. Blood spurted out as Yuan Chang's meridians were severed. Ah! Yuan Chong howled as he retreated frantically. How could this be? It had only been a little over 10 days. How could this Lu Ming be so strong? Why? No, I can't accept this. I can't die. I must escape and tell this news to the experts of the Duanwu clan. Let the Duanwu clan send experts to kill this Lu Ming. After that, I'll find an opportunity to get Feng Wu. I still have a chance. Yuan Chang's mind was filled with all kinds of thoughts. You have no chance. As Lu Ming's voice rang out, a peerlessly sharp sword light directly pierced through Yuan Chang's heart. This sword strike had completely severed Yuan Chang's various thoughts. Lu Ming, you'll die a horrible death! Yuan Chong roared in anger, full of unwillingness. Lu Ming was too decisive, not giving him the slightest chance. It did not take long for Yuan Chang's life aura to disappear. Activating his devouring power, Lu Ming silently absorbed Yuan Chang's blood essence. At the side, Feng Wu watched with his mouth agape. She was too shocked. More than 10 days ago, Lu Ming suddenly disappeared. She thought that Lu Ming had met with some mishap. Even after searching for a few days, they still couldn't find Lu Ming. Just now, Lu Ming's sudden appearance had shocked her. But then, Lu Ming had displayed an overwhelming advantage and killed Yuan Chong. This caused her to open her small mouth, unable to close it for a long time. Could it be that Lu Ming had been hiding his strength all this time? This was the only possibility. Senior Sister Feng Wu, are you all right? Lu Ming walked towards Feng Wu, but when he got close, Lu Ming couldn't help but look towards Feng Wu's chest. That large patch of snow-white skin, as well as that half of her exposed flesh, was simply too eye-catching. Lu Ming stared at him without blinking. So white! Lu Ming blurted out subconsciously. Lu Ming, you're shameless! So you are this kind of person? Look again. If you keep looking, I'll gouge your eyes out. Seeing Lu Ming's eyes and the 2 words so white, Feng Wu's face immediately darkened as he shouted fiercely. How could this woman change her attitude faster than flipping a book? Lu Ming was speechless. He rubbed his nose, then turned his gaze, revealing a playful smile. He walked towards Feng Wu and laughed. Hee, Senior Sister Feng Wu, you are right, I am that kind of person. Now that Yuan Chong is dead, there are only the 2 of us left. Tell me, how should I treat you? As he said that, his eyes darted around Feng Wu's well-developed body, especially on his chest, where they stayed for an even longer period of time. Junior brother Lu Ming, don't, if Big Sister Mullins finds out, she won't let you off, I beg you, on account of me helping you before, please spare me, if you want a beauty, after the trial is over, I will definitely help you find one. Seeing Lu Ming's expression, Feng Wu was so scared that her face turned pale, and she started to scream. There was no longer any trace of the vicious expression from before. She was like a frightened little rabbit. Tears welled up in her eyes as she sighed inwardly. Why was her fate so bad? She had just escaped the wolf's claws and fallen into the tiger's mouth. Help me find a beauty. No, no, how can other beauties be as beautiful as you, senior sister Fengwu? Lu Ming stood by Fengwu's side and laughed lewdly. Then, he extended an arm and hugged Fengwu's slender waist. Fengwu left behind a line of tears and closed his eyes in despair. She felt a strong arm wrapped around her waist, and a hot palm pressed against her abdomen, causing her heart to tremble. But after that, there were no other movements. A whistling sound rang in his ears, and the night wind kept blowing on his face. Fengwu couldn't help but open his eyes, only to discover that Lu Ming was running wildly in the forest with her in his arms. Lu Ming glanced at Fengwu, smiled slightly, and said, "The smell of blood there will soon attract other demonic beasts. We need to change places." However, Lu Ming's smile was clean, and did not have the slightest hint of lust. In an instant, Fengwu knew that Lu Ming was just teasing her. "Lu Ming, I'm not done with you." Fengwu gritted his teeth as he thought fiercely in his heart. Thinking back to his embarrassing state just now, Fengwu's face turned hot. With a beauty in his arms, his face was flushed red, and he looked as if he couldn't resist at all. In this deep forest, anyone would have their imagination run wild. Lu Ming's heart was also thumping wildly. He took a deep breath, calmed himself down, and quickly ran. Very quickly, they found a quiet valley 10 miles away. Lu Ming put Fengwu down, then took off his coat and draped it over Fengwu's body, blocking a large area of snow-white skin on her chest. Following that, Lu Ming sat cross-legged at the side, closed his eyes and meditated. Fengwu looked deeply at Lu Ming, and then channeled his energy to force out the fragrant soft tendon powder. When the sky was about to brighten, Fengwu had already forced out all the poison from the fragrant soft tendon powder and recovered his power. At this moment, Lu Ming also opened his eyes. "Lu Ming, why did you suddenly disappear?" Fengwu suddenly asked. "It's still Yuan Chong." Immediately, Lu Ming told her about how Yuan Chong stopped him more than 10 days ago. Of course, he did not mention a single word about his bloodline. It really is that bastard Yuan Chong. He actually colluded with the people from the Duanmu family. Fengwu gritted his teeth and said, "All right, now that you've forced out the poison, I'll take my leave," Lu Ming said. "Lu Ming, why don't we go together? Right now, some of the experts from the various academies have already gathered together. According to what I know, among this group of people from the Duanmu family, there is a top genius called Duanmu Ju. He is the strongest among the newcomers of the White Tiger Hall this year. There are many experts from the Duanmu family and the White Tiger Hall gathered around him. They are searching everywhere for the Iron Medallion, and their goal is to become the rookie king of this trial. If you were to meet them alone, I'm afraid it would be dangerous." Fengwu stopped Lu Ming and explained. "Duanmu family? Do you know where they are?" Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he asked. "I know, but what do you want to do?" "Of course I'm going to find them to get the Iron Medallion." Lu Ming's mouth revealed a cold smile, and added in his heart, "Just treat it as collecting some interest first." "You want to rob the Duanmu family? Isn't that too dangerous?" Fengwu's face changed. "It's not like we're going to fight head-on, what are you afraid of?" Lu Ming said. "All right, then let's go together." Fengwu waved his fist, the ponytail behind his head swaying back and forth, his eyes revealing an excited light. This Fengwu was not a law-abiding person either. "Haha, then let's go together." Lu Ming laughed. "Wait a moment." Fengwu suddenly shouted, then turned and ran into the bushes. After a while, when Fengwu walked out, he had already changed into a new set of clothes. "Storage ring." Lu Ming's expression changed. Storage rings contained space and could store things. They were refined by powerful inscription masters and were extremely precious. Even the huge Lu family did not have a single one. Fengwu was not simple. "I'll return your clothes to you." Fengwu returned Lu Ming's robe to Lu Ming. Chapter 38. 50 miles away, on a dense tree, Lu Ming and Fengwu were hiding in the branches. Not far from the tree, there were two young men eating barbecued meat. Let's hurry up and finish eating. Don't delay the Duanmu family's important matters. I know. This time, helping the Duanmu family capture the lightning leopard cub is definitely a great merit. Of course, this lightning leopard cub is said to be a gift to young Master Duanmu Lin. The two of them were new disciples of the White Tiger Hall. They chatted as they ate. Lightning leopard! When Lu Ming and Feng Wu heard this, they were both shocked. Lightning leopard was an extremely rare demon beast. It contained the power of lightning and was as fast as the wind. An adult lightning leopard was at least a level 4 demon beast, equivalent to a martial ancestor realm warrior. Especially Lu Ming, he was even more shocked, his eyes shining brightly. This was because the blood of the lightning leopard was one of the 3 most important materials for cultivating the second level of the true dragon art. One was the spirit condensation fruit, the other 2 were the blood of the lightning leopard and the blood smoke stone. Lu Ming was determined to obtain the blood of the lightning leopard. After the 2 youths from the White Tiger Hall finished eating, they stood up and headed in a certain direction. Let's follow them, Lu Ming said to Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded and followed behind the 2 youths with Lu Ming. After a few miles, the 2 of them took out a handful of withered grass and lit it up. The withered grass emitted dense white smoke and spread into the forest. At the same time, the same white smoke was emitted from several other directions. Only the northern direction was left without white smoke. Swish! Not long after, a silver-white figure rushed out of the forest and hurriedly headed towards the north. It's really a lightning leopard! Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Obviously, the lightning leopard was afraid of the white smoke, so it ran in the direction where there was no white smoke. The lightning leopard is out. Let's chase it and chase it into that canyon. With a loud shout, figures rushed out from the forest and chased after the lightning leopard. The 2 youths also chased after it, Lu Ming and Feng Wu following closely behind. Not long after, a canyon appeared in front of them. He saw 4 figures standing guard in front of the canyon, while the lightning leopard and the others were nowhere to be seen. Clearly, the lightning leopard and the others had already entered the canyon. Let's go in! Lu Ming smiled faintly and headed straight for the entrance of the canyon. Hold it right there. The Duanmu clan is handling some matters here. All unrelated people, scram! Amongst the 4 of them, there was only one disciple from the Duanmu family. When he saw Lu Ming and Feng Wu, he shouted coldly. Secluded Night Mountain Range isn't your Duanmu family's territory. Where do I want to go? What can you do about it? Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile as he strode toward the canyon. How dare you? Brat, are you deliberately looking for trouble? That disciple from the Duanmu family shouted and stared at Lu Ming carefully. There was a flash of pondering in his eyes. Then, his eyes lit up and he shouted. I remember now. You are Lu Ming. Haha, there is a path to heaven but you don't want to take it. There is no door to hell but you choose to enter it. Unsheathing his sword, the disciple of the Duanmu clan directly pierced towards Lu Ming. However, with a flash of sword light, Lu Ming's sword was even faster. With a poochie sound, it pierced into the chest of the Duanmu clan. This disciple of the Duanmu clan was only at the 9th level of the martial warrior. How could he be a match for Lu Ming? You killed a disciple of the Duanmu clan. You're dead for sure. The other 3 people's faces were pale as they cried out in disbelief. These 3 people were not from the Duanmu clan. They were the other new disciples of the White Tiger Hall. Their cultivation was even lower. One of them was at the 8th level of the martial warrior realm, while the other 2 were at the 7th level of the martial warrior realm. Shwa shwa! At this moment, another sword light flashed and slashed across the throats of the 3 people. It was Feng Wu who had made his move. The 3 of them widened their eyes and fell to the ground, no longer breathing. Lu Ming looked at Feng Wu in surprise. He did not expect Feng Wu to be so decisive. Let's see if they have any iron medallions on them. Lu Ming searched the bodies of the 4 people, and at the same time, he quietly absorbed their blood essence. However, the blood essence of a martial warrior was of little help to Lu Ming. In the end, he found the iron medallions on the 4 of them. There were a total of 26 points, and Feng Wu had 13 points each. After splitting up, the 2 of them continued to rush towards the canyon. On both sides of this canyon were smooth stone walls. It was over 1,000 meters tall and difficult for birds to cross. No wonder the Duanmu clan would drive the lightning leopard here. Once they reached this canyon, no matter how fast the lightning leopard was, it wouldn't be able to escape. After entering the canyon for about 1,000 meters, they reached the end of the canyon. At the end of the canyon, there was also a smooth stone wall. At this moment, there were 5 figures surrounding a snow-white figure. It was a small leopard the size of a dog. It was obviously a cub. The fur on its body was as white as snow. On the white fur, there were faint traces of lightning. This was the cub of the lightning leopard. At this moment, the lightning leopard cub was covered in blood as it laid on the ground. Its pair of black eyes were filled with grief and helplessness as it stared at its surroundings. "Be careful, just injure it. Capture it alive. This lightning leopard is of great use to young Master Lin. If it is raised by young Master Lin's side, he can extract its blood essence every month to cultivate," one of the youths said. Looking at his clothes, one could tell that he was a disciple of the Duanmu clan. In fact, among the 5 of them, he was the only one who was a disciple of the Duanmu clan. The other 4 were not. "Brother Duanmu, don't worry. Since it's young Master Lin's business, it's my business." "That's right," the others said one after another. Suddenly they heard movement. Turning their heads, they saw Lu Ming and Feng Wu. The faces of the 5 of them changed. You are Lu Ming? Why are you here?" When the Duanmu clan disciple saw Lu Ming, he cried out in surprise. "Why can't I be here?" Lu Ming smiled faintly. "Where are the people at the entrance of the canyon? What did you do to them?" The Duanmu clan youth shouted. "I killed them," Lu Ming said with a smile. "What? Kill? You're courting death. Everyone, this person is going against my Duanmu clan. Kill him!" The Duanmu clan youth roared. "I'll kill him!" A gray-robed youth flew out and punched towards Lu Ming's head. He wanted to smash Lu Ming's head into pieces with a single punch. The wind from the fist whistled and true energy burst forth. It was obvious that he was at the first level of the martial master realm. Bang! Lu Ming stomped heavily on the ground and his figure rushed out like the wind. Following that, a sword light flashed. With a poochie sound, a deep sword mark appeared on the young man's chest. His heart was instantly sliced into 2 by Lu Ming's sword chi. "You!" The young man only had time to spit out a single word before he breathed his last. Killing a first-level martial master expert in one move. The other 4 people's faces changed. The Duanmu clan youth roared. "Attack! Kill him together!" Boom! Boom! Blood erupted from the 4 of them at the same time. Their bloodline erupted. Among them, the Duanmu clan youth had a 4th-level bloodline while the other 3 had 3rd-level bloodline. Chapter 39. The Duanmu clan was indeed powerful. They had actually gathered so many experts. One had to know that among this batch of new disciples, there were only about 100 people who had reached the martial master realm. The 4 of them unleashed their full strength and charged towards Lu Ming and Feng Wu. "Jio!" With a bird cry, Feng Wu also unleashed her bloodline. Her bloodline was actually the 5th-level bloodline, I-Soul Bird. Among this batch of new disciples, the 5th-level bloodline was definitely the top bloodline. "Kill!" Feng Wu shouted and charged towards the other party. Lu Ming's figure flashed as he also charged forward. Clang! Clang! Immediately, the sound of weapons clashing and true chi exploding could be heard. The other party used one person to stall Feng Wu while the other 3 worked together to deal with Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's aura was like a rainbow, his sword light was incomparably fast, and his true chi was unstoppable. In just a few moves, one of them was cut in half by Lu Ming's sword. In the midst of the bloody light, another sword pierced through the heart of another person. In front of Lu Ming, The 3 martial masters who were at the first level of the martial master realm were as weak as babies. They had no power to resist at all. In the end, only the Duanwu clan youth was left. Lu Ming, how could he be so strong? Didn't that old fellow Lu Yunxiong say that he was just a low-level martial warrior? That old fellow lied to us. The Duanwu clan youth roared in his heart. He no longer cared about the lightning leopard and ran away. However, in front of Lu Ming, how could he run away? He was directly pierced through by Lu Ming's sword from the back. Ah! At this moment, a miserable scream came from the other side. Another White Tiger Hall youth was killed by Fengwu. A 5th-level bloodline had a fighting strength that surpassed a 3rd-level bloodline. But at this moment, Fengwu's beautiful eyes flashed as she looked at Lu Ming in shock. 3 warriors of the same level are unable to resist him at all. Furthermore, he hasn't even unleashed his bloodline. It's truly shocking. No wonder Big Sister Mulins thinks so highly of him. Fengwu pondered. At this moment, Lu Ming walked towards the lightning leopard. Woo! The lightning leopard was severely injured. It lay on the ground and stared at Lu Ming with a pair of black eyes filled with despair. This gaze caused Lu Ming's heart to skip a beat. He couldn't help but think back to the time when Lu Yao and Lu Yunxiong had robbed him of his bloodline. If this lightning leopard were to fall into the hands of the Duanwu clan, its fate would definitely be very miserable. Lu Ming, how do you plan to deal with this lightning leopard cub? I suggest you take it out. This lightning leopard cub is very precious outside, Fengwu suggested. Lu Ming laughed. Senior Sister Fengwu, do you have any healing medicine and empty jade bottles? There is. Fengwu nodded, and with a wave of his hand 2 jade bottles appeared out of thin air. One was empty, and the other was filled with healing medicine and muscle regeneration and blood-staunching powder. Many thanks, Senior Sister Feng. Lu Ming smiled, took the jade bottle, and approached the lightning leopard. Roar! When the lightning leopard cub saw Lu Ming approaching, its white fur immediately stood up. It grinned and stared at Lu Ming fiercely. Kid, don't be nervous. I won't kill you, and I won't take you away. I only want a little of your blood, and I'll even help you heal. Lu Ming laughed, then moved his body and grabbed the lightning leopard cub's neck. The lightning leopard cub was already injured, and blood kept flowing out of its wounds. Lu Ming took the empty jade bottle and filled it with about half a bottle of lightning leopard's blood. Then, he kept the jade bottle and poured the muscle regeneration and blood-staunching powder on the lightning leopard's wounds. The muscle regeneration and blood-staunching powder was a top-notch healing product. When it was applied to the lightning leopard's wounds, the lightning leopard cub quickly stopped bleeding. Kid, let's go. Find a place to hide and heal your wounds. Don't be discovered by others again, Lu Ming said as he patted the lightning leopard cub's head. Woo! The lightning leopard cub whimpered as it looked at Lu Ming with its big black eyes, as though it was surprised that Lu Ming would let it go. At the side, Fengwu was also a little surprised and said, Lu Ming, you really want to let it go? The value of a lightning leopard cub is not low. I still have to find the Duanwu clan to get the iron medallion. I don't have time to bring it along. Lu Ming laughed. Woo! The lightning leopard cub suddenly ran to Lu Ming's feet and rubbed its head against Lu Ming's feet. Then, it ran to Fengwu's feet and rubbed against Fengwu's feet. What a spiritual demonic beasts! What a cute demonic beasts! Fengwu exclaimed in admiration as his eyes began to shine. Woo! The lightning leopard cub whimpered a few more times, looked deeply at Lu Ming, then turned and ran out of the canyon. Lu Ming laughed, and then searched for the iron medallion S on the bodies of the few people. While he was at it, he quietly absorbed all of their blood essence. The blood essence of 5 martial artists at the first level of the martial master was extremely strong, as expected of a genius of the martial master realm. Each of them has around 30 points. The iron medallion that was found made both Lu Ming and Fengwu overjoyed. The 5 youths at the first level of the martial master had a total of 153 points. In the end, Fengwu only wanted 50 points, and the other 83 points were all given to Lu Ming. After all, it was all thanks to Lu Ming this time. Otherwise, Feng Wu would definitely not be a match for the 5 of them at the first level of the martial master. Lu Ming was not courteous either. His goal was to get first place. Right now, Lu Ming already had a total of 124 points. Senior Sister Feng, wait for me for a moment. With that, Lu Ming sat cross-legged and began to refine the blood essence that he had just absorbed. The blood essence of the 5 first-level martial master was extremely large, and was constantly being converted into true qi. Lu Ming's cultivation was rapidly increasing. A moment later, Lu Ming's body trembled slightly. Second-level martial master! Lu Ming's eyes flashed. In addition to Yuan Chang's, he had devoured the blood essence of 6 martial artists at the first level of the martial master realm, as well as the blood essence of some other martial artists in the martial soldier realm. Lu Ming's cultivation had once again broken through. However, his bloodline was still at the 3rd level and did not advance. Senior Sister Feng, let's go! Lu Ming stood up and said. Feng Wu looked at Lu Ming curiously. Lu Ming's breakthrough was very secretive, so Feng Wu did not notice it. She was only curious as to why Lu Ming suddenly sat down cross-legged to cultivate, and after cultivating for a while, he stood up again. But she didn't ask. Everyone had their own secrets, didn't they? The 2 of them left the canyon and continued to run deeper into the secluded night mountain range. The main force of the Duanmu family was still deeper in. An hour later, the 2 of them stopped under a big tree because there was a pattern carved on it. It was a vermilion bird carved on a big tree. It was very lifelike. What does this mean? Lu Ming asked. In the past hour, they had already seen this pattern 3 times. This is a unique symbol of our vermilion bird courtyard. Someone is gathering the disciples of the vermilion bird courtyard. Look, the direction the vermilion bird is pointing at is the direction of the gathering. Oh? So that's how it is. Lu Ming had just entered the vermilion bird courtyard, so he did not know anything about this. Unlike the geniuses of the other big cities, he had already done research on the Mystic Essence Sword sect. I don't know what it is. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't use this method to gather disciples. Shall we go take a look? Feng Wu was somewhat puzzled as he said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Chapter 40. When Lu Ming and Feng Wu followed the symbol of the vermilion bird diagram for more than 20 miles, the sun had already set. In front of them, clusters of bonfires appeared, jumping in the night. Shwa! Shwa! Suddenly, several figures appeared and blocked the 2's path. Who are you people? This is the gathering place of my vermilion bird courtyard. Are you disciples of the vermilion bird courtyard? One of them asked. That's right, we are indeed disciples of the vermilion bird courtyard. My name is Feng Wu. Feng Wu said. Haha, so it's junior sister Feng Wu. Quickly invite her in. A laugh came from the bonfire in front of them. A young man walked over. This young man was tall and thin with long arms. His eyes flickered, giving off a dangerous feeling. Yin Kai, it's you! Seeing this young man, Feng Wu was slightly shocked. This person is Yin Kai? Lu Ming's eyes also flashed. Previously, when they had just started the trial, Lu Ming had asked Feng Wu for some information. Yin Kai was very famous. Amongst the newcomers of the Vermilion Bird Courtyard, he was known as the #1 expert. It was said that he had awakened a 5th-level bloodline and had already cultivated to the 4th level of the martial master realm at the age of 17. Yin Kai's gaze swept past Lu Ming's body, but he did not pay much attention to him. In the end, he stopped at Feng Wu and said, Junior sister Feng Wu, let's talk over there. Yin Kai brought Feng Wu and Lu Ming and walked towards one of the bonfires. In this place, there were 5 bonfires lit, and nearly 50 people gathered. They were all disciples of the Vermilion Bird Courtyard. Lu Ming and the others arrived at the bonfire. There were a total of 8 people. However, these 8 people all had extremely powerful auras. They were all experts of the martial master realm. There were even a few of them who had powerful auras that far surpassed ordinary first-level martial masters. These people looked at Feng Wu and nodded their heads. As for Lu Ming, none of them knew him, nor had they heard of his name before, so they naturally ignored him. Senior Brother Yin Kai, those vermilion bird diagrams were engraved by you, right? Feng Wu asked. That's right, I asked someone to engrave it. Junior Sister Feng Wu, I presume you guys came here because you saw the vermilion bird diagrams, Yin Kai said with a smile. Feng Wu nodded and said, That's right, we did come here because we saw the vermilion bird diagram. We want to see what happened. Senior Marshal Brother Yin, why did you inscribe the vermilion bird portrait and gather all your fellow disciples? Junior Sister Feng, I'm sure you know that there's an iron token worth 500 points this time. Yin Kai's eyes flashed. 500 points iron plate? Could it be that you've already found an iron plate worth 500 points? Feng Wu asked in shock. Even Lu Ming was shocked. It could be said that every expert wanted to obtain a 500-point iron plate, because as long as they could obtain this iron plate, they would very likely obtain the first place in this competition. This iron plate with 500 points was of utmost importance. Not bad! Yin Kai nodded his head and said, Not only did our Vermilion Bird Hall discover it, even the White Tiger Hall, Azure Dragon Hall, and Black Tortoise Hall have discovered it. That's why I want to gather people. This time, this 500-point iron plate must not fall into the hands of the other 3 halls. Our Vermilion Bird Hall has not produced a newcomer king for 8 consecutive years. Senior Brother Yin, are you trying to get this iron plate with 500 points and become this year's newcomer king? Feng Wu's eyes flashed. Of course. At the side, a cold youth said, This year's Vermilion Bird Hall, other than Senior Brother Yin Kai, who else has the qualifications to become the newcomer king? Feng Wu curled his lips and asked, Then do you know what kind of demon beast those 500 points are on? It's on a mutated black-armored lizard. This black-armored lizard is a 2nd level 9th level demon beast. If we were to fight it head-on, no one in our 4 great academies would be able to obtain this iron plate. Therefore, our 4 great academies have agreed that the black-armored lizard likes to eat the silver-eyed rabbit. As long as we catch enough silver-eyed rabbit and put the bewitching powder into their bodies, we will be able to make the mutated black-armored lizard fall into a deep sleep. At that time, the 4 great academies will rely on their own abilities to fight for the 500-point iron plate. How is it, Junior Sister Feng? Stay and lend me a hand, Yin Kai said. If I lend you a hand, how do you calculate the remuneration? Lu Ming suddenly asked. Reward? What reward? Yin Kai said with a frown. Since we're helping you, of course we need a reward. How about this? We'll help you obtain the 500-point iron plate and obtain the position of newcomer king. However, how about you give us the spirit condensing fruit for first place as a reward? Lu Ming said. Lu Ming's main goal was the spirit condensing fruit. As long as he could obtain the spirit condensing fruit, what harm was there in helping Yin Kai? You want the spirit condensing fruit? Yin Kai's face darkened. Brat, you don't know how to appreciate favors. Helping Senior Brother Yin become the newcomer king is the shared honor of our Vermilion Bird Hall. As long as you're a disciple of the Vermilion Bird Hall, you should unconditionally help. How laughable, the cold youth said gloomily. This person's name was Yuan Lang, and he was a very famous genius among the newcomers of the Vermilion Bird Hall. His cultivation had reached the 3rd level of the Martial Master Realm. Hee hee! Lu Ming sneered. He finally knew why Yin Kai had carved the Vermilion Bird diagram and gathered the disciples of the Vermilion Bird Hall. He wanted others to work for him and help him obtain the position of newcomer king. However, Lu Ming did not have the habit of helping others for free. Furthermore, was Lu Ming familiar with them? Shared honor of the Vermilion Bird Hall? You really make it sound so dignified. Lu Ming looked at Yuan Lang with a mocking smile and said, Since it's for the honor of the Vermilion Bird Hall, sure. When you obtain the 500-point iron plate, give it to me and let me become the newcomer king. It's also for the honor of the Vermilion Bird Hall. With that said, Yin Kai, Yuan Lang, and the rest's faces darkened. Yuan Lang even shouted, Who do you think you are? Are you worthy of the position of newcomer king? Oh? Lu Ming sneered. He could not be bothered to waste his breath with them. He looked at Feng Wu and said, Senior Sister Feng, do you plan to stay here or? I won't accompany you. I'm not interested either. Let's go, Feng Wu said as he turned around to leave with Lu Ming. All of you, stop right there! Yuan Lang shouted loudly. Shua! With a flash of his figure, he blocked their path. Yin Kai, what is the meaning of this? Feng Wu's expression changed as he turned to look at Yin Kai. Yin Kai revealed a sinister smile and said, This time, I must obtain first place. So, hand over all of your iron plate S. Yin Kai, you. Feng Wu's expression was extremely ugly. He never thought that Yin Kai would be so despicable. It's fine if you don't want to contribute. Leave behind your iron plate S before you leave. Yuan Lang looked at Lu Ming with disdain. I want to leave, and you want to stop me? Scram, a good dog doesn't block the way. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Brat, you're really arrogant. However, even if you're arrogant, you have to have the ability to be arrogant. Let me see what kind of ability you have. Chapter 41. Lu Ming, be careful! Feng Wu's expression changed drastically. Yuan Lang's cultivation had reached the 3rd level of the martial master realm, and was not something a 1st-level martial master could compare to. She was afraid that Lu Ming would not be a match for him. Flame Dragon Fist! Lu Ming did not evade. Instead, he threw a punch. Bang! Lu Ming's fist and Yuan Lang's claw collided. Strength overflowed in all directions, and the two of them swayed as they retreated 3 steps. This move was evenly matched. The 3rd level of the martial master realm is indeed powerful. Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he pondered. In the martial master realm, the gap between each level was extremely large and extremely difficult to cross. It was not something that the martial warrior realm could compare to. In the past, when Lu Ming was at the 6th level of martial warrior, with the support of 3 divine meridians, his battle dragon true chi was 2 times more condensed and powerful than ordinary true chi. In addition to his exquisite martial arts techniques, he could cross 3 levels and fight with a 9th level martial master. However, in the martial master realm, it was impossible to do so. The power of the 3 divine veins was rather obvious in the martial warrior realm. However, in the martial master realm, the power of the 3 divine veins did not seem to be of much use. The most important function of the divine veins was to reflect one's talent and potential, and not directly reflect one's strength. Therefore, Lu Ming was now a 2nd-level martial master. With the power of his vital energy, he could at most skip 1 level and fight with a 3rd-level martial master. Coupled with his superb martial arts techniques, it was not a problem for him to suppress or even kill a 3rd-level martial master. However, if he encountered a 4th-level martial master, it would be difficult. Of course, this was under the condition that Lu Ming's bloodline did not erupt. The two of them retreated at the same time, causing the surrounding people to be shocked. Feng Wu was overjoyed. He never thought that Lu Ming would actually be able to fight to a draw with Yuan Lang. Just how strong is this Lu Ming? He must have been hiding his strength all this time. Sister Mulin's even told me to protect him? I think he's the one protecting me. Feng Wu thought speechlessly. At the side, Yin Kai and the other's eyes flashed with shock. He had never heard of this Lu Ming before. Where did he come from? How could he have such a strong cultivation? Yuan Lang's eyes were incomparably gloomy, flashing with dense killing intent as he roared. Lu Ming, take another move of mine, Goshawk's 18 claws! Sizzle! Yuan Lang placed his hands on his waist, and a pair of metal gloves appeared on his hands. In the next second, both of his claws clawed out consecutively. In the blink of an eye, 9 claw shadows appeared, covering 9 vital points on Lu Ming's body. Under the burst of true chi, the sharp metal gloves pierced the air, making an ear-piercing whistling sound. A yellow-grade high-grade martial skill. It's a pity that I haven't cultivated it to perfection. I only managed to break through to the 3rd level. Lu Ming sneered as he unsheathed his sword and used the flowing light sword technique. Sizzle! Sword lights flashed in the air as Lu Ming slashed out 12 times in one go. Ding! Ding! The long sword and the metal glove clashed continuously, and the two figures crossed each other in the air. Finally, the noise stopped abruptly, and the two figures separated. Puff! Suddenly, Yuan Lang's body swayed as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Yuan Lang was defeated. On his chest, a wound appeared that went straight to his bones. If it wasn't for Lu Ming holding back a little at the critical moment, he would have died. Now you can scram. Lu Ming cast a nonchalant glance at Yuan Lang before he lifted his leg and walked forward. Clang! Clang! A series of weapons were unsheathed. Following that, a white-clothed woman shouted, Lu Ming, there are so many of us, and senior brother Yin Kai. Do you think you can escape? Yin Kai, what are you trying to do? Do you want to keep us here? Feng Wu said with an ugly expression. Yin Kai looked at Lu Ming with a gloomy face, but did not say anything. You can try and see if you can keep me here. But I can guarantee that the losses at that time are not something you can bear. Lu Ming held his sword in his hand. His gaze was calm, but it contained an unwavering fighting spirit. His cold voice caused one's heart to involuntarily turn cold. Yin Kai stared at Lu Ming for a while, a light flashed in his eyes, and he suddenly laughed. Haha, it's all a misunderstanding. Junior brother Lu Ming is indeed powerful, it has really broadened my horizons. I hope we can make friends in the future. Senior sister Feng, let's go! Lu Ming did not even look at Yin Kai as he turned and left. Lu Ming, I was careless this time. Next time, I will definitely return today's humiliation double. Yuan Lang's cold voice came from behind. Next time? You'd better hope that there won't be a next time. Lu Ming's indifferent voice came out, and then he disappeared into the forest with Feng Wu. Senior brother Yin, are we going to let them go just like that? After Lu Ming and Feng Wu left, the white-clothed woman asked Yin Kai. This Lu Ming is not weak, and right now, our main goal is to compete with the other 3 academies for the 500-point iron plate. We cannot lose any manpower. Once this trial is over, I have plenty of ways to deal with him. I will make him regret it. Looking in the direction Lu Ming and Feng Wu left, Yin Kai's eyes flashed with killing intent. 1,000 meters away. Junior brother Lu Ming, Yin Kai is a narrow-minded person. Since you've offended him today, I'm afraid he won't let you off so easily in the future. Feng Wu said worriedly. He better not come looking for trouble with me. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He did not take Yin Kai to heart. Feng Wu's beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light. Although she had known Lu Ming for a period of time, she realized that she could not see through Lu Ming at all. In her eyes, Lu Ming was unfathomable. Lu Ming, what do you plan to do next? Feng Wu asked. What should I do? I don't want to miss the 500-point iron plate. The corner of Lu Ming's mouth curled up into an inexplicable smile. Feng Wu stared and exclaimed, Don't tell me you want to snatch food from the tiger's mouth? Why not? Lu Ming smiled faintly. He then climbed up a big tree that was more than 20 meters tall and looked at Yin Kai and the group from afar. He wanted to follow Yin Kai and the others to seize the 500-point iron plate. This person is interesting. Feng Wu looked at Lu Ming, then climbed up the tree and sat on the branch. The darkness dissipated, and a wisp of white appeared on the horizon. In the distance, Yin Kai and the others extinguished the bonfire and began to head deeper into the secluded night mountain range. Lu Ming and Feng Wu followed far behind. After walking for more than 20 miles, Yin Kai and the others stopped at the foot of a huge mountain. At the foot of the mountain, there was a huge cave. It was pitch black inside and extremely creepy. In front of the cave, a group of people had already gathered. There were more than 100 people. The people from the White Tiger Hall and the Azure Dragon Hall have arrived. Feng Wu whispered to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. Lu Ming, if you make a move later, you must be careful of a few people. Feng Wu pointed to a young man wearing a white robe with green wood embroidered on his sleeves and a purple jade belt wrapped around his waist, and said, "This person is Duanmu Ju, the strongest among the newcomers of the White Tiger Hall." Then, he pointed to another young man wearing a green robe and said, "This person is called Huan Yu, the #1 expert among the new disciples of the Azure Dragon Hall." Lu Ming gave a soft hum of acknowledgement. Chapter 42. Feng Wu couldn't help but snort lightly, her small mouth slightly curled up. Unexpectedly, Lu Ming suddenly leaned close to her ear and said, "You said so much? Are you so concerned about me?" Caught off guard, Feng Wu jumped in fright and almost cried out. Her small face flushed red as she glared fiercely at Lu Ming and said, "What nonsense are you spouting? Who cares about you? If it wasn't for Big Sister Mulin's instructions, if it wasn't for you saving me, I wouldn't have bothered with you." "Oh. So it's like that." Lu Ming clicked his tongue, then looked ahead. Whoosh. Feng Wu let out a light breath, but for some reason, his heart was beating non-stop. Not long after, another group of people came. They were the disciples of the Black Martial Arts Academy. The 4 great academies were all here. Lu Ming and Feng Wu held their breaths and looked ahead. A moment later, the disciples of the 4 great academies took out silver-eyed rabbits and placed them at the entrance of the cave. The disciples of the 4 great academies all scattered and retreated to the vicinity to hide. There were at least 50 silver-eyed rabbits, and all of them had bewitching powder in their bodies. The smell of the silver-eyed rabbit was emitted. A moment later, a giant lizard that was half a meter tall and more than 4 meters long crawled out. It was covered in black scales. This was the black armored lizard. However, it was clear that this black armored lizard was only an ordinary black armored lizard. It was equivalent to a second level 2 demon beast, and not a mutated black armored lizard. As soon as the black armored lizard crawled out, it saw the silver-eyed rabbit outside and hurriedly rushed over. It swallowed a silver-eyed rabbit in one gulp and ate it with relish. At this time, another black armored lizard crawled out. It was also not a mutated black armored lizard. Following that, a few more black armored lizards crawled out and swallowed more than 10 silver-eyed rabbits in a few moments. The disciples of the 4 great academies were anxious. They had spent several days to catch the silver-eyed rabbit. If they were eaten up by these ordinary black-armored lizards, then they wouldn't have a second chance. There were only 2 days left until the end of the trial. They didn't have the time to catch so many silver-eyed rabbits. Moreover, they didn't have enough bewitching powder on them. At this moment, roar! A loud roar came from the cave. Then, there was a bang 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 sound coming from the cave as a huge creature crawled out. This was also a black scale lizard, but its size was 10 times that of the others. Moreover, this black scale lizard's eyes were red. On the neck of this black scale lizard hung a metal plate with 2 large words written on it, 500. 500 points iron plate. Everyone's eyes were burning with excitement. Roar! The mutated black-scaled lizard let out a loud roar when it saw the silver-eyed rabbit. Hiss! The other black-scale lizards seemed to be very afraid, and one by one, they retreated. The mutated black-scaled lizard stepped forward alone and opened its bloody mouth. With one bite, 5 or 6 silver-eyed rabbits were swallowed into its mouth. A few minutes later, nearly 40 silver-eyed rabbits were all swallowed by the mutated black-scaled lizard. The variant black-scaled monitor lizard let out a roar, then turned around and slowly entered the cave. Hiss! At this moment, the black-scale lizards that had swallowed the silver-eyed rabbit earlier swayed and fell to the ground one by one, snoring loudly. The bewitching powder in their bodies had taken effect. The disciples of the 4 great academies were not in a hurry to chase into the cave. They were waiting for the medicine to take effect. The mutated black-scaled lizard was not as easy to deal with as an ordinary black-scaled lizard. After more than 10 minutes, the disciples of the 4 great academies all rushed into the cave. "Are we going in too?" After a few more minutes, Feng Wu asked Lu Ming. "I'm the one who's going in. Wait for me here." Lu Ming nodded and said, It might be very chaotic at that time. If I'm alone, it'll be easier for me to escape. Fengwu bit her lips. She knew that what Lu Ming said was the truth. All right, then you have to be careful, Fengwu said. Lu Ming nodded, then moved and rushed towards the cave. Outside the cave, there was a group of disciples from the 4 courtyards with low cultivation levels. However, none of them stopped Lu Ming. There were disciples of the 4 great academies, so who would stop him? Lu Ming dashed into the cave without a hitch. Inside the cave, it was dark. Even though Lu Ming was a martial master, and his eyesight was much stronger than ordinary people, it was still dark in his eyes. Lu Ming restrained his breathing and carefully walked in. However, after walking for 100 meters, there were several forks in the road. Furthermore, he saw the corpse of a black-scaled lizard lying there. This was a level 1 black-scaled lizard. Lu Ming was not interested in absorbing its blood essence, so he chose a fork in the road and continued forward. This was the lair of the black-scaled lizard. It was connected in all directions and crisscrossed in a very complicated manner. After Lu Ming walked a few 100 meters forward, there were several forks in the road. Lu Ming continued to casually choose a fork in the road and walked inside. On the way, Lu Ming saw several black-scaled lizard corpses. 2 of them were at the first stage of Class 2, and 1 was at the second stage of Class 2. Lu Ming did not let them go and devoured all of their blood essence. As he walked, he refined the blood essence. Lu Ming's cultivation was rapidly improving. Obviously, the disciples of the 4 great academies had the advantage in numbers. He did not find any corpses along the way. Lu Ming walked like this for about 20 minutes. Along the way, he devoured 3 more Class 1 LV2 black-scaled lizards and 1 Class 2 LV2 black-scaled lizard. Lu Ming's cultivation had successfully advanced to the middle stage of the second stage of the martial master realm. At this moment, Lu Ming saw a faint light coming from ahead. Lu Ming lightened his footsteps and walked toward the light. When he walked closer, he realized that it was a cave entrance. It was not even as tall as a person. Lu Ming walked to the side of the cave entrance and looked outside. He was slightly shocked. Outside the cave entrance was a huge underground cave. It was more than 100 meters in length and width, and dozens of meters in height. On the walls of the cave, there were stones that emitted a faint light. These were luminous stones. If the luminous components in these stones were extracted, they could be made into luminous stones that could illuminate the cave. With the help of the luminous stones, Lu Ming saw that there were many similar caves on the walls of the cave. In some of the caves, he could vaguely see human figures. Many people from the 4 great academies were hiding in these caves. Lu Ming's cave entrance was more than 10 meters above the ground. In the center of the cave, there was a huge monster lying there. It was the mutated black-scaled lizard. At this moment, the black-scaled lizard had not yet fallen asleep. It let out a low roar and opened its bloody mouth from time to time. No wonder the disciples of the 4 great academies did not make a move. They were all waiting for the mutated black-scaled lizard to fall asleep. The mutated black-scaled lizard was a Class 9 LV2 demonic beast, which was equivalent to a LV9 martial master realm expert. If a martial artist below the LV4 martial master realm was slapped, they would definitely die. Time passed slowly. After more than 10 minutes, the mutated black-scaled lizard's eyelids became heavier. It seemed that it was about to fall asleep, but it was not completely asleep. The resistance of the mutated black-scaled lizard was really terrifying. It could still hold on after eating so many silver-eyed rabbits. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure rushed out from a cave entrance like lightning and pounced on the neck of the black-scaled lizard. Im Kai! Chapter 43. Swoosh! Im Kai's speed was extremely fast. His bloodline was a level 5 green-winged nighthawk, and speed was his forte. Now that his bloodline was activated, he was as fast as lightning. No wonder he dared to attack the mutated black-scaled lizard before it was completely asleep. Im Kai's figure flashed a few times, and he was under the mutated black-scaled lizard's neck. He reached out and grabbed the iron token, and pulled with all his might, breaking the iron chain that bound the iron token. Roar! The tearing force seemed to have caused the mutated black-scaled lizard to react. It let out a low roar, and a huge claw swiped at Kai. Kai's figure suddenly flashed, and he dodged the claw of the black-scaled lizard. The black-scaled lizard seemed to be even more dizzy after its claw missed. It let out a low roar and did not pursue. "Ha, the 500 points are mine. This year's newcomer king is mine." Seeing that the black-scaled lizard did not pursue, Kai was overjoyed and almost laughed out loud. "Kai, put down the iron token!" At this moment, figures pounced out from the surrounding caves. They were all experts from the 4 campuses. Among them, Duanmuju, Huan Yu, Xiehong, and the top experts of the other 3 campuses were among them. "It's in my hands, and you still want to take it away? Dream on!" Kai sneered. He waved his hands, and a pair of indistinct green wings could be seen flashing. Whoosh! A gust of wind stirred up, and Kai's figure actually leaped more than 10 meters into the air, flying toward a cave that was more than 10 meters high. Kai had already planned to use the advantage of his bloodline to seize the iron token, lure out the experts of the other 3 campuses, and then escape by jumping into a cave that was more than 10 meters high. Those caves were intricate and complicated. As long as he escaped into a cave, the others would not be able to catch up to him. His idea was good, but Lu Ming happened to be in this direction. Therefore, Lu Ming did not even think. He jumped down and slashed at Kai. "Lu Ming, it's you? Get out of my way!" At the sight of Lu Ming's sudden appearance, Kai roared in shock and swept his sword upward. Clang! The 2 swords clashed, and a burst of energy burst forth. Kai was a 4th-stage martial master, and his strength was not to be underestimated. Lu Ming was sent flying by a strong force. However, Lu Ming was in a high position and his strength was not weak either. Kai was directly sent flying down. At this time, Duanmuju, Huan Yu, and the others had already arrived. "Kai, hand over the iron plate, or you'll die." Duanmuju coldly snorted, his eyes filled with killing intent. A powerful attack was directed towards Kai. "Lu Ming, I'll fight you to the death!" Kai roared furiously. "Save yourself first!" Lu Ming landed at the side and smiled faintly. "Hand over your iron token!" Duanmuju, Huan Yu, and Xiehong were all at the 4th level of the martial master realm. There were also a few other experts at the 3rd level of the martial master realm. Kai would not be able to keep the iron plate. All the attacks were aimed at the hand holding the iron metal. If he didn't let go, his hand would be crippled. Helpless, he could only let go. "The iron metal is mine, get lost." "Huan Yu, how dare you go against my Duanmu family?" Duanmuju roared continuously. "Duanmuju, don't use your Duanmu family to scare me. Others might be afraid of your Duanmu family, but I'm not." Huan Yu sneered. Instantly, the scene fell into a chaotic battle. Everyone wanted the iron metal, and they fought with all their strength. True energy exploded, and the iron metal danced in the air. For a moment, no one managed to snatch it. Whoosh! At this time, Lu Ming suddenly heard the sound of something breaking through the air behind him. A powerful force attacked his back. Someone was ambushing him. Whoosh! At the critical moment, Lu Ming twisted his body and dodged the attack by a hair's breadth. Turning his head to look, Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly. "Yuan Lang, you're courting death. The one who ambushed him was Yuan Lang. You're the one who's going to die. I didn't activate my bloodline yesterday. Let's see if you're a match for me this time." Yuan Lang's murderous aura surged. Then, with a flash of blood-red light, his bloodline erupted, and he charged towards Lu Ming. Whoosh whoosh! The ice-cold iron claws brought about a strong gust of wind as they clawed towards Lu Ming. The power was stronger than yesterday. Lu Ming didn't waste time talking nonsense with him and executed the flowing light sword art. In an instant, more than 10 sword lights were slashed out. Clang! Clang! Continuous clashing sounds could be heard. As soon as they exchanged blows, Yuan Lang's expression changed because he realized that the power released from Lu Ming's sword was stronger than yesterday. Could it be that in less than a day, Lu Ming's cultivation had broken through again? Impossible. Yuan Lang rejected this idea. Lu Ming must have hidden his strength yesterday. He began to think of retreating. However, Lu Ming's sword light trembled. Yuan Lang felt his arm go numb, and he took 2 steps back. Whoosh! An even more resplendent sword light erupted and pierced into Yuan Lang's stomach. Lu Ming, don't kill! Yuan Lang screamed in horror. I said yesterday that there won't be a second chance. Lu Ming said coldly. Then, he suddenly grabbed Yuan Lang's neck and threw him out. He was thrown in the direction where Duanmu Ju and the others were fighting for the iron tokens. That place was filled with sword lights. If he was thrown out like this, he would definitely be dismembered. Ah! Yuan Lang screamed in horror. He had been hit by Lu Ming's sword, but he didn't die. In order to survive, he unleashed all his strength. A dazzling red light erupted from his body as he clawed out continuously. Get lost! Go to hell! Duanmu Ju and the others roared in anger and attacked without hesitation. Puchi! Almost instantly, Yuan Lang was dismembered. His flesh and blood splattered everywhere. However, Yuan Lang, who had risked his life, managed to block them for a moment. And what Lu Ming wanted was this moment. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming rushed out. The dragon snake steps erupted with the strongest power. With a single step, he was almost 7 feet away. Swish! Lu Ming was like a bolt of lightning, leaping over the battlefield where Duanmu Ju, Yin Kai, and the others were fighting. He grabbed the iron token with 500 points in his hand. Lu Ming, it's you again! Give me the iron token and I'll spare your life! Yin Kai roared. Lu Ming, I know you. You dared to kill my Duanmu family's disciples. Hand over the iron token and I'll plead with the family elders to reduce your punishment. Duanmu Ju also roared. At the same time, several attacks were launched at Lu Ming. With so many experts, Lu Ming couldn't withstand them. He took another step forward and ran for 7 feet. This direction was where the variant black-scaled lizard was lying on the ground. At this time, Lu Ming was only 10 feet away from the variant black-scaled lizard. Behind him, Duanmu Ju, Yin Kai, and the others had surrounded Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you can't escape. You want to snatch the iron token? What a joke. Today you must die. Yin Kai's eyes flickered with killing intent. If it wasn't for Lu Ming, he would have already gotten the iron token and left this place. Then, this year's newcomer king would be him. But now, everything had turned into bubbles because of Lu Ming. He hated Lu Ming to the bone. Lu Ming, give me the iron token and I'll spare your life. Huan Yu shouted. Chapter 44. At this moment, the mutated black-scaled lizard had already closed its eyes and was about to fall asleep. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for it to remain indifferent during the intense battle just now. There were no holes on the wall on the lizard's side. There seemed to be no way out here. Lu Ming, you have nowhere to go. Duanmu Ju and the rest slowly approached. If they weren't afraid of the mutated black-scaled lizard, they would have already attacked. Is that so? You're that confident? At this point, Lu Ming actually smiled. How could he still smile? However, Duanmu Ju, Yin Kai, and the rest immediately understood. Lu Ming suddenly turned around and charged towards the mutated black-scaled lizard. The sword light pierced through the air and ruthlessly pierced towards the lizard's body. Lu Ming, what are you doing? Stop! Quickly stop, you're courting death! Duanmu Ju and the rest's faces changed as they roared. However, Lu Ming's sword light did not stop. Puchi, the long sword ruthlessly pierced into the lizard's body. Roar! The long sword pierced its body. Under the intense pain, the mutated black-scaled lizard let out a roar, and its eyes suddenly opened. Another sword! Lu Ming pulled out the long sword, causing blood to spurt out as he stabbed again. This time, the mutated black-scaled lizard was completely awake. It let out a furious roar and extended its huge claws towards Lu Ming. Using the dragon snake steps, he dodged the lizard's attack and then ran towards Duanmuju, Yin Kai, and the rest. Roar! The mutated black-scaled lizard roared and chased after Lu Ming in a frenzy. Lu Ming! Duanmuju, Yin Kai, and the rest all roared, but they could only helplessly turn around and run. The strongest among them was only a 4th-stage martial master. Even if they worked together, they wouldn't be able to kill the mutated black-scaled lizard. Why are you running? Didn't you want to kill me? Lu Ming's mocking voice rang out. This made Duanmuju and the rest so angry that they almost vomited blood. They secretly swore that they definitely wouldn't let Lu Ming off. Like birds startled by the twang of a bow, they no longer dared to stay in the cave. One by one, they ran into the caves. Ha ha ha, goodbye! Lu Ming stomped heavily on the ground and soared into the sky. He landed directly in a 10-meter-high cave entrance, and then ran quickly. Lu Ming ran for over 1,000 meters in the cave before finally sitting down to rest. With a thought, the iron card appeared in Lu Ming's hand. This iron token was made of a different material than the others. It was dark gold in color, and very hard. There were 2 golden words on it, 500. With these 500 points, in addition to the 124 points he had previously obtained, Lu Ming had a total of 624 points. Is 624 points enough? Lu Ming began to ponder. It was hard to say. Duanmuju, Yin Kai, and the rest had gathered so many people. If some people only kept 10 points and gave the rest to them, it would be hard to say how many points they had. It was possible for them to gather 500 or 600 points. There are still 2 days left. Maybe I can get some points from the Duanmu clan or Yin Kai. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. At this moment, hurried footsteps could be heard from behind. They were extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, a few figures appeared in front of Lu Ming. Duanmuju! Lu Ming's eyes flickered. One of the 3 people was actually Duanmuju. The 2 beside him were genius disciples of the White Tiger Institute with a cultivation of the 3rd-layer martial master realm. Lu Ming, you're really here. Let's see how you're going to escape now. Seeing Lu Ming, Duanmuju wasn't surprised. He revealed a cold smile. How did you find me? Lu Ming asked curiously. Hee, I don't mind telling you. My bloodline is the spirit-sniffing hound. You won't be able to escape from me. A short young man beside Duanmuju said. So it's the nose of a dog. Lu Ming came to a realization. Lu Ming, I didn't look for you, but you actually dared to snatch my iron accumulative points card. You're really bold. Now, hand over your iron accumulative points card and I'll give you a quick death, Duanmuju said. Lu Ming curled his lips and said, Is everyone from the Duanmu clan so blindly confident? I really don't know how your Duanmu clan became the top clan of the White Tiger Institute. So you're not giving it to me? Then I'll show you how my Duanmu clan became the top clan of the White Tiger Institute. Flying Tiger Sword. Kill! After saying this, Duanmuju lunged at Lu Ming. A sword intent was emitted, accompanied by the faint roar of a tiger. Clang! Lu Ming drew his sword and welcomed the attack. Clang! Clang! Their swords clashed. In this cave, the terrain was narrow, making it impossible to use movement techniques. One could only fight head-on. After a few clashes, Lu Ming felt his arm go numb, and his body involuntarily took 3 steps back. As for Duanmuju, his body only swayed slightly. 4th-layer martial master, such powerful strength. My current strength can't even compare to a 4th-layer martial master, Lu Ming thought to himself. Your swordsmanship is not bad, but your strength is too weak. Die! Flying tiger pounces on its prey. Duanmuju sneered and attacked Lu Ming again. Vaguely, it was like a fierce tiger pouncing at Lu Ming. Flying tiger sword technique, a high-grade yellow rank sword technique. Duanmuju had already cultivated it to the 3rd level and his moves were fast and ruthless. I'm not a match for you in terms of strength. Then let's use speed! Lu Ming was highly focused and completely immersed in the flowing light sword technique. Swish swish, his speed was much faster than Duan Muju's. Duan Muju could only give up on attacking and try his best to block Lu Ming's swish. So what if your swordsmanship is fast? If your strength isn't enough, I'll beat you until you can't hold your sword. Duan Muju's sword danced like water couldn't splash through as he continuously clashed with Lu Ming's sword. Is that so? What if I'm faster? At this moment, Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. His sword moved and his swordsmanship was actually faster than before. His sword was like a river as it continuously poured down on Duan Muju. Just a moment ago, his flowing light sword technique had a breakthrough. Previously, his flowing light sword technique had been stuck at the 4th level and hadn't broken through. Just a moment ago, in the battle with Duan Muju, his flowing light sword technique had broken through to the 5th level and reached perfection. Duan Muju's expression changed greatly. Just now, he could barely block it. Now, he realized that he couldn't block it at all. Swish! Lu Ming's sword broke through his defense and slashed towards his chest. Retreat! 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 Duan Muju was horrified and retreated frantically. However, he was still a step too late. Pfff! Lu Ming's sword gleam left a deep wound on his chest. Duan Muju broke out in cold sweat. If he didn't retreat quickly, he would be dead now. Attack! Attack together! Kill him! Duan Muju roared furiously. Kill! The other two youths charged towards Lu Ming together with Duan Muju. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.